Hello there, everyone. Welcome to Cryptic Corpse. I am your storyteller, and I'm here to guide you tonight. I know many of you use these videos to drift off to sleep, so before we begin, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. I'm always curious, where are you watching from, and what time is it in your part of the world? Now find your cozy spot and relax. My name is Ray Kowalski. I'm 44 years old, and I'm a cop, a detective. I work in Pine Barrens, New Jersey. I have a daughter named Katie. She's 16, and she thinks I'm the best dad in the world. She thinks I'm a hero, but I'm not. Every morning, I call Katie before I start work. "Hey, sweetheart," I said today while sitting in my car. The fog was thick outside, making the pine trees look spooky. "Dad, did you see what I wrote for my school thing?" Katie sounded so happy. "Just read it. You're going to get that money for school for sure." I was lying. I hadn't even opened the envelope on my seat. "I wrote about you," she told me, "about how you always do what's right, even when it's hard." My throat felt tight. That's great, honey." After we hung up, I took out the note I keep in my wallet. Katie wrote it for my birthday. "Daddy, I know you'll always do the right thing because you're the best man I know." The paper is thin now because I've read it so many times. If only she knew the truth. It all started when my wife Maria died. Katie was 12 then, and she needed an operation for her back. Our health plan wouldn't pay for all of it. I had big gambling debts from trying to feel better after Maria died. I didn't have enough money, so when a rich man offered me cash to make some proof of his crime go away, I told myself it was just one time. For Katie, now it's 4 years later, that just one time has turned into many times. I tell bad guys about police work. I take money I shouldn't take. I don't report crimes I should report. And every night I call Katie and make up stories about how I helped people that day. Stories about being the hero she thinks I am. I keep Katie's baby shoes in my car. I touch them before I do anything scary. They used to remind me of who I was trying to protect. Now they just remind me of what a fake I am. Today, I'm going into the Pine Barrens to look at a dead body they found near the old sawmill. My boss called me for this one himself, said it might be tied to the big story about cops taking bribes, the same kind of bribes I take. "This is your chance, Ray," he told me. "Solve this one and nobody will think you're a bad cop anymore." The fog is so thick today. The trees look like ghosts. As I drive deeper into the woods, I feel like something is watching me. I look in my mirror and for just a second, I think I see Katie sitting in my back seat, crying. But when I turn around, nobody's there. The smell hits me when I get out of my car. The rotten egg smell from the swamp mixed with something sweet like Katie's strawberry shampoo. It makes my head spin. Yellow tape is around the area. Officer Chen waves me over to where a body is covered with a sheet. "Detective Kowalski," she says. "It's Mike Torres, one of our cops." I feel cold all over. Mike was a good cop, young guy. He knew too much about the bad things I've done. We pull back the sheet and I almost throw up. Mike is holding a picture of Katie in one hand. In his other hand is a letter saying he did bad things. The handwriting looks just like mine. As Chen talks about when he died and what they found, I stare at Mike's face. His eyes are open, looking at something behind me. I turn and see my reflection in my car window. But it's not me looking back, it's Katie, and she looks sad and angry with me. I blink and it's gone. Just my tired face looking back. "You okay, detective?" Chen asks. I nod, touching Katie's letter in my pocket. "Fine, let's get to work." But I'm not fine. For the first time in years, I'm wondering if pretending to be Katie's hero is worth it. And I can't shake the feeling that something in these woods knows all the bad things I've done. I couldn't sleep that night. Mike Torres' dead face kept showing up in my dreams. And that picture of Katie in his hand. It didn't make any sense. Why would Mike have a picture of my daughter? The next morning, I went back to the crime scene. The fog was even thicker than before. I could barely see 10 feet in front of me. "Anything new?" I asked Chen, who was still collecting evidence. She handed me a plastic bag. "We found this in his pocket." It was a letter. As I read it, my hands started to shake. "To whom it may concern, I can't live with what I've done anymore. I've been taking money from the Carson family for years. I've helped them hide bodies. I've given them police information. I'm sorry. I don't deserve to call myself a cop." The letter was signed by Mike Torres, but the handwriting looked exactly like mine. I've never seen anything like it. It was like someone had copied my handwriting perfectly. "There's more," Chen said. She played a recording on her phone. It was a voicemail Mike had left for his wife the night he died. "I'm sorry," Mike's voice said on the recording. "I can't keep lying. I have to tell the truth about..." And then the voice changed. It wasn't Mike anymore. It was my voice. About taking money to hide evidence. About helping criminals get away with murder. Chen didn't seem to notice the change. But I did. I felt sick. "You okay?" Chen asked. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "Fine," I mumbled. "Just need some air." I walked away from the crime scene, into the trees. The smell of sulfur from the bog was stronger now. I pulled out my phone to call Katie. I needed to hear her voice, to remind myself why I was doing all this. But when I looked at my call history, I saw something that made my blood run cold. There were 5 calls to Katie from last night that I didn't remember making. I played the first voicemail. "Hey Katie, it's Dad." It was my voice, but I never made that call. "Just wanted to tell you that I'm not the man you think I am. I've been taking money from bad people. I've been helping them stay out of jail." I deleted it before it could play anymore. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped my phone. Who made that call? It wasn't me. As I walked back to my car, I saw something in a puddle on the ground. A reflection. But it wasn't my face looking back at me. It was Katie's. She was crying. I jumped back, splashing through the puddle. When I looked again, it was just my own scared face. That night I got a call about another body. Tom Richards, a local accountant, found dead in his home. I didn't know him, but as soon as I walked into his house, I felt the same cold feeling I'd had at Mike's crime scene. Tom was sitting at his desk. In front of him was a suicide note. He'd written that he was a corrupt cop who couldn't live with himself anymore. But Tom wasn't a cop. He was an accountant. Next to the note was a family photo. Tom, his wife, Helen, and their 8-year-old son, Billy. But someone had crossed out Tom's face and drawn mine over it. "Detective," one of the officers called me over. "You need to hear this." He played Tom's last phone call to his wife. It started as Tom's voice. Then halfway through, it changed to mine. "I can't keep lying to our son," my voice said on the recording. "I can't keep pretending to be a good man when I'm not." I looked in the mirror on the wall, and for a second, I saw Katie standing behind me. When I turned around, nobody was there. Back in my car, I opened the glove compartment and touched Katie's baby shoes. They felt hot, like they'd been sitting in the sun all day, but it was the middle of the night. My phone rang. It was Katie. "Dad, are you okay? You sound weird on your message." My heart stopped. "What message, honey?" "The one you left an hour ago. You said you needed to tell me something important, that you've been lying to me." "That wasn't me," I said quickly. "Someone's playing a prank. Don't listen to any more messages from me, okay? My phone's been hacked." After we hung up, I slammed my fist against the steering wheel. Someone was trying to ruin me. Someone who knew all my secrets. Someone who could sound exactly like me. Or something. As I drove home through the dark pine barrens, every shadow looked like Katie watching me. Every tree looked like it was turning away in disappointment, and in every puddle and window I passed, I kept seeing reflections that shouldn't be there. I was starting to think I was losing my mind. But there was another explanation, one that made even less sense. Something was out there in the Pine Barrens. Something that knew what I had done. Something that wanted Katie to know too. The next morning, I drove to Tom Richards' house again. I needed to check something. The fog was so thick I almost missed the turn. As I pulled up, I saw the police tape was still there. No one else was around yet. I ducked under the tape and went inside. The house was quiet, too quiet. I went to Tom's desk where we'd found him. The suicide note was gone, taken as evidence. But there was something else there now. A small tape recorder. I pressed play. "Hello, Ray." It was my voice, but I wasn't talking. How does it feel to lie to Katie every day? How does it feel to know she would hate you if she knew what you really are? I threw the recorder across the room. It hit the wall but kept playing. "She's going to find out, Ray. I'm going to make sure of it." I stomped on the recorder until it broke. My hands were shaking. This wasn't possible. Someone was playing a trick on me. A very sick trick. As I was leaving, my phone rang. It was Chen. "Ray, you need to get to the Richards place right now. We found another body." "I'm already here," I said. "Whose body?" "Helen Richards, Tom's wife." But that wasn't possible. Helen had been alive yesterday when we found Tom. I'd talked to her myself. "Where?" I asked. "Upstairs bedroom." I ran up the stairs, my heart pounding. The bedroom door was closed. I took a deep breath and opened it. Helen Richards was lying on the floor. She was posed like she was protecting someone, arms out like she was trying to shield a child. On the wall above her was a picture of her daughter, but someone had cut out the child's face and put in a picture of Katie. "No," I whispered. "This isn't happening." I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around, expecting to see Chen, but no one was there. Just a mirror. On the wall. In the mirror, I saw Katie standing behind me. She was holding a piece of paper. As I watched, she unfolded it. It was a list of all the bad things I'd done, all the times I'd taken money, all the criminals I'd helped, all the evidence I'd made disappear. "Katie, no," I said to the mirror. "You don't understand. I did it for you." She looked up at me, her face full of hate. "I never asked you to become a monster, Dad." I turned around, but the real room was empty. When I looked back at the mirror, it just showed me. Just my scared face. My phone rang again. It was Katie. "Dad?" Her voice sounded small and scared. "Someone dropped off a letter. For me at school. It says it's from you." My blood went cold. "What letter? What does it say?" It says you've been lying to me, that you've been taking money from bad people, that you helped hide a murder." "Dad, what's going on?" "Don't read anymore," I said quickly. "That's not from me. Someone's trying to hurt us, tear it up. But Dad, it's your handwriting, and it has details about things only you would know." I closed my eyes. This couldn't be happening. "Katie, listen to me. Someone is trying to frame me. I would never do those things. You know me. You know I'm a good man." There was a long pause. "Okay, Dad. I believe you." But I could hear the doubt in her voice. After we hung up, I sat in my car and cried. I hadn't cried since Maria died, but now I couldn't stop. Someone or something was trying to destroy the one good thing in my life. Katie's love. I drove back to the station. I needed to look at the evidence again. I needed to figure out what was happening before it was too late. The station was quiet. Most people had gone home. I went to the evidence room and signed out the files on Mike Torres and Tom Richards. As I was looking through them, I found something strange. There were pictures from both crime scenes that I hadn't seen before. In each one there was a reflection, in a window, in a puddle, in a mirror, of me standing over the body. But I hadn't been there when those pictures were taken, and in each reflection I was smiling. I heard a noise behind me. When I turned around, no one was there, but on the wall was my shadow. It was moving, even though I was standing still. It raised a hand and pointed at me. "Who are you?" I whispered. "What do you want?" My shadow's mouth moved, but the voice I heard seemed to come from everywhere at once. It was my voice, but wrong somehow. "I want the truth, Ray. I want Katie to know who her daddy really is." I ran out of the room, down the hallway, out of the station. The night air was cold. The smell of sulfur from the bog was everywhere now, mixed with Katie's strawberry shampoo smell. I got in my car and drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just needed to get away. But as I looked in my rearview mirror, I saw Katie sitting in the back seat. Her eyes were sad. "Why did you lie to me, Daddy?" she asked. "Why did you pretend to be a hero when you're not?" I slammed on the brakes. The car skidded to a stop in the middle of the road. When I turned around, the back seat was empty, but Katie's baby shoes, which had been in my glove compartment, were now on the back seat. They were wet, like they'd been dipped in the bog. I picked them up with shaking hands. There was a note tucked inside one shoe. I unfolded it. "Daddy, I know now that you'll never do the right thing, because you're not the man I thought you knew." It was written in Katie's handwriting. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't face Katie. Instead, I parked my car deep in the Pine Barrens and tried to think. This wasn't just someone playing tricks. This was something else. Something that knew all my secrets. Something that could look like Katie, sound like me, and be in places it shouldn't be able to reach. My phone rang just as the sun was coming up. It was Chen again. "Ray, where are you? We need you at the Richards house again." My stomach dropped. "What happened?" "It's their son, Billy. You need to see this." 20 minutes later, I pulled up to the house. More police tape, more fog. The smell of sulfur was so strong now I could taste it. Chen met me at the door. Her face was pale. "He's in his bedroom, 8 years old, Ray, just 8 years old." I went upstairs to Billy's room. The little boy was curled up in his closet, like he'd been hiding from someone. In his hand was a drawing, a picture of a police officer with my face. The word "bad" was written across it in red crayon. "Who found him?" I asked, my voice shaking. "The grandmother," Chen said. "She came to check on him after what happened to his parents." I looked around the room. On Billy's desk was a tape recorder, just like the one I'd found in Tom's office. "Has anyone touched that?" I asked, pointing at it. Chen shook her head. "No one's touched anything, except the body." I walked over and pressed play. "Hello, Billy." It was my voice. "I'm going to tell you a story about your mom and dad, about how they died because of me." I turned it off, feeling sick. "What the hell, Ray?" Chen was staring at me. "Is that your voice?" "No," I said quickly. "I mean, it sounds like me, but it's not. Someone's trying to frame me." Chen looked like she didn't believe me. "The captain wants to see you, now." I nodded. "I'll be there. I just need a minute." After Chen left, I looked at myself in Billy's bedroom mirror. But it wasn't my face looking back. It was Katie's. "You let this happen," Katie's reflection said to me. "You let a little boy die because you're too scared to tell the truth." "Stop it," I whispered. "Leave me alone." "Tell me the truth, Daddy," Katie's reflection said. "Tell me what you really are." I smashed my fist into the mirror. It shattered, cutting my hand. Blood dripped onto the broken pieces. In each one I could see a tiny reflection of Katie's disappointed face. On the way to the station, I tried calling the real Katie. She didn't pick up. I was scared now, really scared. At the station, Captain Barnes was waiting for me in his office. His face was grim. "Ray, I'm going to ask you this once," he said. "Did you have anything to do with these deaths?" "No," I said. "Someone's setting me up." He pushed a folder across his desk, then explained this. Inside were pictures of me at each crime scene, pictures taken before I was called to the scene, pictures that showed me standing over each body. "That's not possible," I said. "I wasn't there." "Ray, we have witnesses." People saw you at the Richards house last night, before we found Helen's body. That wasn't me, I insisted, but my voice sounded weak even to me. I'm suspending you, Barnes said. Turn in your gun and badge, and don't leave town. As I walked out of his office, everyone in the station was staring at me. In the glass of the door, I saw Katie's reflection walking beside me. She was crying. I drove straight to my house. I needed to see Katie, the real Katie. I needed to make sure she was okay. But when I got home, she wasn't there. Just a note on the table. Dad, I got another letter today. It had pictures of you taking money from Mr. Carson. It had recordings of you talking about hiding evidence. I don't want to believe it's true. Please tell me it's not true. I'm staying at Emma's house tonight. I need time to think. I felt like the floor was falling out from under me. I ran to my bedroom and pulled out the shoebox from under my bed. Inside was all the money I'd taken over the years. The money for Katie's surgery, the money for her college fund, dirty money. Next to it was my gun and a bottle of whiskey. I hadn't had a drink since Maria died. I promised Katie I wouldn't, but now I opened the bottle and took a long drink. It burned going down. My phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Hello, I said. Daddy? It was Katie's voice. I know everything now. I know what you did. I know what you are. Katie, please, I begged. Let me explain. I did it for you. Everything I did was for you. No, Daddy, you did it for yourself, because you were weak, because you couldn't be the man I thought you were. Where are you? I asked. Please, just come home. We can talk about this. I'm in the Pine Barrens. Daddy, I'm with your friend, the one who showed me the truth. The line went dead. I grabbed my gun and ran to my car. The fog was thicker than ever as I drove toward the Pine Barrens. The smell of sulfur and strawberry shampoo filled my car, making it hard to breathe. Every reflective surface, my rearview mirror, my windows, even the shiny parts of my dashboard, showed Katie's face, sometimes crying, sometimes angry, sometimes just disappointed. I knew now that whatever was happening wasn't normal, wasn't human. Something in the Pine Barrens was using Katie against me, using my guilt against me. And it had. My daughter. I drove deep into the Pine Barrens, following the smell of strawberry shampoo. The fog was so thick I could barely see the road. My headlights just bounced back at me, like the forest didn't want me to find my way. I tried calling Katie again. No answer. I tried calling Emma's parents. They said Katie never came to their house. My heart was beating so fast it hurt. Where was she? Was that really her on the phone? Or was it something else? I reached the old sawmill where we'd found Mike Torres's body. Something told me to stop there. The smell of strawberries was stronger here, mixed with the rotten egg smell from the bog. I got out of my car, gun in hand. Katie, I called. Katie, are you here? No answer, just the sound of the wind in the trees. Then I saw her, standing by the edge of the bog. Katie, my Katie. Katie! I ran toward her, but as I got closer, I slowed down. Something wasn't right. She was standing too still, and the fog seemed to move through her like she wasn't really there. Hello, Daddy, she said, but her mouth didn't move. The voice seemed to come from all around me. You're not Katie, I said, raising my gun. What are you? What have you done with my daughter? Katie smiled, but it wasn't her smile. It was cold, mean. I'm the truth, Ray. The truth you've been hiding from. As I watched, Katie's face changed. It was still Katie, but older, angrier, like she'd grown up hating me. Where is the real Katie? I demanded. Safe at home, the thing that looked like Katie said. For now. But she'll know the truth soon. I'll make sure of it. Why are you doing this? I asked. Why me? Because you lie, Ray. You pretend to be something you're not. You wear a mask for the one person who should know you best. The thing that looked like Katie walked closer to me. I feed on the gap between who people pretend to be and who they really are. And you, Ray, you're a feast. I backed up. Stay away from me. I've been watching you for years, it said. Learning all your secrets, learning exactly what would hurt Katie the most if she knew. Leave her out of this, I begged. Please, she's just a kid. A kid who thinks her daddy is a hero, it mocked. Should I show you what she'll look like when she learns the truth? When she sees who you really are? The thing's face changed again, becoming Katie as I'd seen her in the mirrors and reflections. Crying, disgusted, heartbroken. Stop it, I whispered. Or maybe I should just take your place, it said. I've gotten very good at being you, Ray, at sounding like you, at looking like you. Its face shifted, becoming mine, perfect in every detail. Katie wouldn't know the difference, not until it was too late. I raised my gun again. I'll kill you. It laughed with my voice. You can't kill me, Ray. I'm not alive the way you are. I'm in every reflection, every shadow, every lie you tell. I heard a noise behind me. When I turned, I saw another body on the ground. A woman, Amy Richards, Tom's sister. She'd been posed like she was running from something. From me. You killed all of them, I said, understanding finally. Torres. The Richards family, all of them. No, Ray, it said with my face. You killed them. Or at least, that's what everyone thinks. That's what Katie will think. It walked toward me, its feet not quite touching the ground. I've left plenty of evidence. Your fingerprints, your DNA, recordings of your voice confessing. By morning, the whole town will know what kind of man Ray Kowalski really is. I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't let Katie find out that way. What do you want from me? I asked, my voice breaking. I want you to choose, Ray, it said. Keep lying to Katie and I'll keep killing one by one until they catch you, until Katie sees her daddy led away in handcuffs. It stepped closer. Or tell her the truth, tell her everything, watch her heart break, watch her love for you die. I knew then what I had to do, the only thing I could do. I'll tell her, I said. I'll tell her everything. The thing smiled with my face. I don't believe you, Ray. You're too weak, too scared of losing her love. Then I'll show you, I said. I took out my phone and dialed Katie's number. This time, she answered.
Dad, where are you?
I've been so worried. Katie, I said, my voice shaking, I need to tell you something important. I looked at the thing wearing my face. It was watching me, waiting for me to fail. I'm not the man you think I am, I said to Katie. I've done bad things, really bad things. Dad, what are you talking about? I've taken money from criminals. I've helped them stay out of jail. I've lied to you for years. There was silence on the other end of the phone. Katie? Why? Her voice was small, hurt. Why would you do that? I told myself it was for you, I said. For your surgery, for college, but that was just another lie. I did it because I was weak, because it was easier than being the man you thought I was. I was crying now. I couldn't help it. All those stories I told you about helping people, about being a hero, they were all lies. I'm not a hero, Katie. I'm just a man, a weak, scared man who made bad choices. Dad. She was crying too. I could hear it in her voice. I'm so sorry, Katie. I love you more than anything in this world. And I hope someday you can forgive me. I hung up the phone and looked at the thing wearing my face. It wasn't smiling anymore. There, I said. I told her the truth. Now leave her alone. It tilted its head, studying me. Interesting. You actually did it. You chose truth over her love. I chose her, I said. Even if she hates me now, at least she'll be safe from you. The thing's face changed, becoming Katie again, but not the angry Katie or the sad Katie. Just Katie. My Katie. Do you think she'll ever trust you again? I don't know, I said honestly. But at least now, she'll know who I really am. No more lies. The thing nodded. No more lies. It started to fade away, like fog burning off in the morning sun. But as it disappeared, I saw one last reflection in the bog water. Katie, turning away from me, walking away. I sank to my knees in the mud. It was over. The thing was gone. But so was Katie's love for me, her trust, her belief that her daddy was a hero. I put my gun to my head. It would be so easy, so quick, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't leave Katie. Not like that. Not without making things right somehow. I lowered the gun and looked at my reflection in the bog water. For the first time in years, it was just me looking back. No masks, no lies, just Ray Kowalski. A flawed, broken man who'd finally told the truth. I stood up and walked back to my car. It was time to face the consequences of what I'd done. Time to turn myself in. Time to try to be the man Katie deserved, even if it was too late for her to ever see me that way again. As I drove out of the Pine Barrens, the fog began to lift. The smell of sulfur faded. Even the smell of strawberry shampoo was gone. All that was left was the truth. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. 3 months later, Katie sat in her bedroom, holding a letter. It had arrived that morning, forwarded from the prison where her father had died 2 weeks ago. Attacked by another inmate, a criminal he'd once helped put away. The envelope had her name on it in her father's handwriting. Inside was a single page. Dear Katie, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And maybe that's for the best. I couldn't be the hero you thought I was. I wasn't strong enough. Everything I told you that night on the phone was true. I did terrible things, made terrible choices, but one thing was never a lie. I loved you more than anything in this world. I don't ask for your forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I hope someday when you think of me, you'll remember that in the end, I tried to do the right thing. I tried to be honest. I tried to be the man you deserved. I hope someday you can forgive the father who loved you too much to be honest until it was too late. Love always. Dad. Katie folded the letter and put it in her pocket next to the baby shoes she'd found. In her father's car. She looked at her reflection in the mirror. For just a second, she thought she saw her father standing behind her, reaching out to her. But when she turned around, no one was there. My name is Carlos Mendoza. I'm 33 years old, and I work for the Border Patrol in Arizona. My little girl, Sophia, is 5, and she calls me the best daddy in America. Those words make my heart feel happy and sad at the same time. This morning, I'm looking in the mirror, practicing what I'll say to Sophia's kindergarten class next week. She wants me to come in my uniform and tell everyone what I do. Hello, kids. I'm Officer Mendoza. I protect America's borders. I stop talking. My throat feels tight and I can't finish. In my wallet, I keep a drawing Sophia made. It shows me in my green uniform next to an American flag. She wrote, "My hero protects America." I carry it in my patrol car every day. It makes me proud, but also hurts my heart. The house is quiet except for Sophia's cartoons. I touch the wooden beads hidden under my shirt, my grandfather's rosary. He crossed the border with nothing but these beads and hope. Now I arrest people doing the same thing. "Daddy, are you ready yet?" Sophia calls out. "Almost, mi corazon," I answer, buttoning my shirt over the rosary. She comes to the door with messy pigtails she tried to do herself. "Can we practice Spanish before you go?" Every morning we do this. I teach her Spanish while talking about American values. I want her to be proud of both sides of who she is, something I've never figured out for myself. "Of course," I say, kneeling down. "Let's practice. Family words. Abuela is grandmother," she answers proudly. "And abuelo?" "Grandfather." Like your papa's papa who came from Mexico. I nod, feeling sad inside. My grandparents died feeling ashamed that I arrest people like them. Sophia's mother, Elena, left us 2 years ago for the same reason. I can't watch you betray your people, she said as she packed. She moved away but let Sophia stay with me most of the time. That's right, I tell Sophia. And what's the most important thing about being American? She thinks hard. Being free and helping others be free too. I smile, but it feels heavy on my face. That's my smart girl. The sun is hot as I drive along the border. My partner Mike is quiet today, looking out the window. The radio makes noise as other patrol cars talk to each other. You ready for that school visit? Mike asks. Not really, I say. How do I explain this job to 5-year-olds? Mike shrugs. Tell them the truth. We catch bad guys, but it's not that simple. Last week we found a family hiding. Mother, father, and a little girl Sophia's age. The girl had a frozen backpack, just like Sophia's. As I filled out their papers, speaking Spanish to them but writing in English, my hands shook so badly I had to start over twice. Sometimes I let families with children pass. I know places where the cameras don't see. I point and whisper which way to go, then walk away. Each time, I break my promise to protect the country my daughter loves. Each time, I betray the hero she thinks I am. The radio interrupts my thoughts. Unit 14. We have movement at Sector 7, possible group crossing. Mike sits up straight. That's us. Let's go. We drive to a spot in the desert. Through my binoculars, I see 5 men carrying big backpacks, drug smugglers, not families. Finally, Mike says, something that doesn't make you look like you're about to cry. He's right. Drug busts are easier. They make me feel like the hero in Sophia's drawing. Today, I can arrest these men without my grandfather's rosary burning. Against my chest, as we get out of the car with our lights flashing, I feel almost happy. Today, at least, I know which side I'm on. But as I step into the heat, the desert plays tricks on me. In the shadow of a tall cactus, I think I see Sophia waving. Then it changes, and I see my grandfather's sad face. The desert plants smell like home, like my grandmother's kitchen, mixed with Sophia's baby powder smell. I shake my head to clear it. It's just the heat playing tricks, I tell myself. But deep down, I know it's something else. It's how hard it is to be 2 people at once. The proud Mexican-American father Sophia needs, and the loyal Border Patrol agent America wants. I can't be both for real. And lately, I've been feeling like someone, or something, is watching me struggle, waiting for me to break under all this pressure. A week after the drug bust, something strange happened at the station. I was filling out papers when Chief Hayes called an emergency meeting. Listen up, everyone, he said, his face serious. Officer Lisa Chen was found dead last night. The room went quiet. Lisa worked in the processing center. She was always kind to the people we brought in, especially the kids. What happened? Someone asked. Chief Hayes looked down at his notes. It's unusual. She was found in her apartment. The details aren't pleasant. Later, Mike told me what he heard. They're saying she was skinned alive, man, like someone peeled her. I felt sick. That can't be right. It gets weirder, Mike said, lowering his voice. The security camera at her building shows her arguing with herself, like someone who looked exactly like her. I laughed, but it didn't sound right. That's crazy. Yeah, well, they're checking all the footage now. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Lisa, about how someone could look exactly like her. I got up to check on Sophia 3 times. The next day, I met a Border Patrol agent I'd never seen before. He said his name was Ramirez, and he was investigating Lisa's death. Were you close with Officer Chen? He asked. We worked together sometimes, I said. She was good with the kids we brought in. He nodded and wrote something down. Have you noticed anything unusual lately? Anyone acting strange? Before I could answer, another agent walked up. Mendoza, right? I'm Torres. I'm looking into Chen's death. Got a minute? I looked between them, confused. Wait, aren't you both investigating? They stared at each other. Torres frowned. I don't know this man. Ramirez shook his head. Never seen him before. Before I could say anything else, they both walked away in different directions. I tried to follow Torres, but when I turned, the corner, he was gone, like he'd disappeared into thin air. That weekend, Sophia and I went to the park. As she played on the swings, an old woman sitting nearby smiled at me. Beautiful child, she said in Spanish. She looks just like you. Thank you, I answered in Spanish too. Your border patrol? She asked, nodding at my car in the parking lot. I nodded, feeling that familiar shame creep in. My grandson was too, she said. It broke his heart every day. Was? I asked. Her smile faded. He couldn't be two people at once. No one can for long. I wanted to ask what she meant, but Sophia called for me to push her higher. When I looked back, the old woman was gone. Just an empty bench. 3 days later, they found Rico Valdez dead. He was a smuggler we'd caught the week before. Someone had killed him in his cell overnight. The weird thing, Mike told me as we drove our patrol route, is that the security tape shows someone wearing your uniform and badge going into his cell. I felt cold despite the desert heat. That's impossible. I was home with Sophia. Mike shrugged. I know that, but the guy on tape, Carlos, he looked exactly like you, walked like you too. That night I stood in my bathroom, staring at my reflection. Something felt off, like the person in the mirror wasn't quite matching my movements. I leaned closer. Who are you? I whispered. For a second, just a split second, I thought the reflection smiled differently than I did. I jumped back, heart racing. When I looked again, everything was normal, just me looking scared. The next morning, Sophia was drawing at the kitchen table while I made breakfast. Daddy, she said, who was in your room last night? My hands froze over the eggs I was cooking. What do you mean, mi corazon? I saw you in the hallway, she said, not looking up from her drawing. But you looked different. Then I saw you again in your room. How can there be two daddies? I knelt beside her, trying to keep my voice calm. It was just a dream, Sophia. There's only one daddy. She looked up at me, her eyes serious. Are you sure? Later that day, I caught my reflection in the window of the patrol car. For a moment, I saw someone else wearing my face, someone with empty eyes and a cold smile. I blinked, and it was gone. That night, I checked all the locks twice. I put a chair against my bedroom door. I kept my gun close. Because something was wrong. Something was hunting me, and I was starting to think it could wear my face. I didn't sleep much that night. Every noise made me jump. Around 3 a.m., my phone rang. Mendoza, I answered, my voice rough from being tired. Carlos, it's Chief Hayes. Mike didn't show up for his shift. We can't reach him. My stomach felt tight. Mike was never late. Did you check his house? We sent someone over. No sign of him. I got up and looked in on Sophia. She was sleeping peacefully, her stuffed bunny tucked under her arm. I called my neighbor, Mrs. Garcia, to come stay with her, then drove out to help search for Mike. We looked all night. Nothing. Just as the sun came up, a call came in on the radio. A body had been found in the desert. When I got there, other agents were already standing around something on the ground. They moved aside when they saw me. That's when I saw him. It was Mike. His face was wrong. It looked melted, like a mask that didn't fit right. But the worst part was what they found in his pocket. My ID card. And in his hand was something that made my blood freeze. My grandfather's rosary. I don't understand, I said. I have my ID right here. and my rosary is at home. Chief Hayes looked at me strangely. We'll need to talk about this back at the station. On the drive back, I kept checking my mirror, not for cars behind me, but to make sure my face still looked like my face. Things got stranger after that. People at work started acting weird around me. Some wouldn't look me in the eye. Others watched me too closely. I was filling out reports when Agent Cooper came over. "Hey, Mendoza, why were you at the East Fence last night?" I looked up confused. "I wasn't. I was home with Sophia." He frowned. "That's weird. Jenkins and I saw you there around midnight. You were talking to someone through the fence." "It wasn't me," I said. Cooper laughed. "Come on, man. We waved at you. You waved back." My hands started to shake. Someone was pretending to be me. Someone was living my life when I wasn't looking. That night, I found Sophia looking at herself in the mirror, turning her head side to side. "What are you doing, mi corazon?" I asked. "Making sure I'm still me," she said simply. "The lady at school said sometimes people aren't really themselves." "What lady?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. "The one who looks like Miss Peterson, but isn't really her." I called the school right away. The secretary told me there was no problem. Miss Peterson had been there all day. But Sophia kept saying the Miss Peterson who taught them today was different. Her smile was wrong, she insisted. I started to feel like I was going crazy. Every mirror I passed showed me something different. Sometimes I looked more Mexican, sometimes more American. Sometimes I was just an empty uniform with no face at all. I started talking to Sophia in English only, then switched to Spanish without meaning to. I couldn't keep myself straight anymore. At night, I heard voices. My grandfather calling me vendido, "Today, sellout." Then Sophia asking, "Are you proud to be American, Daddy?" I stopped sleeping. How could I sleep when someone might steal my face? A week after Mike's death, I was driving my patrol route alone. No one wanted to partner with me now. I kept the radio on for company. "Unit 14, we have a situation at the East Fence. Please respond." I turned the car around and headed that way. When I got there, I saw a family on the Mexico side, a mother, father, and little girl. They looked scared. "Officer," the father said in Spanish, "please help us. A border patrol man told us to meet him here. He said he would help us cross safely." "What did he look like?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Like you," the mother said. "Exactly like you." I felt sick. "When?" "Last night. He spoke perfect Spanish. Said his grandparents crossed just like us." I looked at the little girl hiding behind her mother. She was wearing a pink backpack with butterflies on it, just like one I'd bought for Sophia. "You need to go back," I told them. "It's not safe. The man you met, he's dangerous." As they turned to leave, the father looked back. He showed us a picture of his daughter. Said her name was Sophia. My hands gripped my gun so tight my knuckles turned white. This thing, whatever, it was new about my daughter. It was using her name. On my way back to the station, I kept seeing movement in my mirror. A face that was mine but not mine. A uniform that was empty. "Who are you?" I whispered to the mirror. This time, I was sure the reflection answered, though its lips didn't move. "I'm the better you," it seemed to say, "the perfect American." When I got home that night, Sophia was already asleep. Mrs. Garcia said she'd been acting strange all day. She kept asking if I was really me, Mrs. Garcia said, looking worried, and she wouldn't speak Spanish with me. Said her daddy told her it's better to just speak English now. My heart sank. I never said that. After Mrs. Garcia left, I sat on the edge of Sophia's bed, watching her sleep. Had that thing been here? Had it talked to my daughter while wearing my face? I checked all the windows and doors twice. Then I sat in the living room with my gun, waiting. For what, I wasn't sure. But I knew it was coming. The next morning, I took Sophia to school myself. In the car, I tried to speak Spanish with her like we always did. "No, Daddy," she said, frowning. "You said we should only speak English now, to be real Americans." "Sophia, I never said that," I told her, trying to keep my voice steady. "Who told you that?" She looked confused. "You did, last night when you came home." I felt cold all over. "What time was that, mi corazon?" "After dinner. You came in and checked my homework, don't you remember?" I'd been driving my patrol route at that time. I hadn't come home until much later. "Sophia," I said carefully, "if someone who looks like Daddy ever says things that sound wrong or makes you feel scared, you run away and find a real grown-up to help, okay?" She nodded, but she looked scared. "Is there a bad daddy?" I swallowed hard. "No, mi corazon, but sometimes people can pretend to be someone they're not." At the station, everyone was gathered around the chief's office. The doctor was closed, but I could hear shouting inside. "What's going on?" I asked Jenkins, who was standing nearby. "Chief Hayes didn't come home last night," he said. "His wife called it in." Just then, the office door opened. 2 detectives walked out, followed by the station secretary, who was crying. One of the detectives pointed at me. "Mendoza, we need to talk to you." They took me to a small room and closed the door. "When did you last see Chief Hayes?" the first detective asked. "Yesterday afternoon before my patrol," I said. The second detective put a folder on the table and opened it. Inside were pictures. I felt sick when I saw them. They showed Chief Hayes dead in a ditch. He was wearing traditional Mexican clothes, a white shirt with colorful embroidery and a sombrero. "These clothes," the detective said, tapping the photo. "We checked with his wife. She says they belong to you, that they were your grandfather's." I shook my head. "That's impossible. Those clothes are in a box in my closet." "We have a witness who saw you with Hayes last night," the first detective said. "Said you were arguing about immigration policy. Said you called him a racist." "It wasn't me," I said, but my voice sounded weak even to myself. They let me go home that night, but I could tell they didn't believe me. No one did anymore. When I got home, Sophia was drawing at the kitchen table. She looked up, scared. "Are you the real Daddy or the other one?" she asked. I knelt down beside her. "I'm the real Daddy, mi corazon." "How can you tell?" She pointed to my chest. "The real Daddy wears Abuelito's beads under his shirt." I pulled out the rosary to show her. She relaxed a little. "The other Daddy doesn't have them," she said, "and he smiles funny." I looked at what she was drawing. It showed 2 of me, one with a real smile, one with a smile that was too wide, too wrong. "Sophia, when did you see the other Daddy?" "He comes sometimes when you're at work," she said simply, reaching for another crayon. "He tells me things." "What kind of things?" She looked at me with serious eyes. "He says you're not a real American, that you let bad people into our country, that I shouldn't be proud of you anymore." My hands started to shake. This thing was trying to turn my daughter against me. "Sophia, I need you to listen carefully," I said. "That's not Daddy. That's a bad person who can look like other people. If you see him again, you run and hide, okay?" She nodded. "Is he a monster?" I thought about it, about the skinned bodies, about how it could look like anyone, about how it fed on confusion and shame. "Yes," I said finally, "I think he is." That night I couldn't sleep again. I kept checking on Sophia, making sure she was safe. Around midnight my phone rang. It was Jenkins. "Mendoza, there's a situation at the East Fence. A family was found dead." "I'm off duty," I said. "Yeah, well, they're saying it was you who did it. There's witnesses. Mexican family, mother, father, little girl. They're saying a border patrol agent shot them while speaking perfect Spanish, saying it was you, man." My hand tightened on the phone. "It wasn't me. I'm at home with Sophia." "I know that," Jenkins said. "But there's a manhunt starting. You need to come in, clear this up." I looked in on Sophia again, sleeping peacefully. I couldn't leave her alone. Not with that thing out there wearing my face. I can't, I told Jenkins. That thing killed them, not me. And if I leave Sophia alone, it might come for her next. What thing? Jenkins asked. What are you talking about? But I couldn't explain. It sounded crazy even to me. Just tell them to check the cameras, I said. It'll look like me, but it's not me. After I hung up, I sat in the dark, thinking. This thing, whatever it was destroying my life, making me look like a killer, trying to take Sophia away from me. And I realized it had been pushing me all along, feeding on my confusion about who I was, Mexican or American, loyal agent or compassionate human. In the hallway mirror, I caught a glimpse of someone watching me. Someone wearing my face, but better somehow. More perfect, like all the divided. Parts of me made whole. It smiled at me with my own mouth, and I knew I had to stop it. Before it took everything I loved. I grabbed my gun and ran to the hallway. The mirror showed only me now, tired, scared, and confused. But I knew what I saw. It had been here, watching. I called Jenkins back. I need help. Can you come to my house? Carlos, everyone's looking for you, he said. There's a warrant out for your arrest. I'm telling you, it wasn't me, I said, my voice shaking. There's something out there that looks like me. It's killing people. Jenkins was quiet. For a moment. Look, I've known you for years. I know you wouldn't hurt a family, but this sounds crazy, man. Please, I begged, just come check on Sophia. Keep her safe while I figure this out. He sighed. Okay, give me 20 minutes. I hung up and went to Sophia's room to check on her again. She was still sleeping. I touched her hair gently, not wanting to wake her. What would happen to her if they arrested me? If that thing took my place? While waiting for Jenkins, I went to my closet and opened the box where I kept my grandfather's traditional clothes. The box was empty. My heart raced. The clothes in the photos with Chief Hayes, they really were my grandfather's. The creature had been in my house, in my closet. I heard a car pull up outside. Looking out the window, I saw Jenkins getting out of his patrol car. Relief washed over me. At least Sophia would be safe. I went to open the door, but stopped. Through the window, I could see something was wrong with Jenkins. His movements were stiff, his face blank. When he looked up at my window, his eyes seemed empty. It wasn't Jenkins anymore. The creature had gotten to him too. I backed away from the door. There was a knock. Carlos, it's Jenkins. Open up, man. I didn't answer. Another knock, harder this time. I know you're in there. Let me in. I picked up my phone to call for help, but who would I call? The police were already looking for me. Everyone at the station thought I was a killer. The knocking stopped. For a moment, I thought maybe he'd left. Then I heard Sophia's window slide open in her bedroom. I ran to her room, gun ready. The window was open, curtains blowing in the night air, but Sophia was still in bed, still asleep. I closed and locked the window, then gently shook Sophia awake. Mi corazón, we need to go, I whispered. Right now. She rubbed her eyes. Why, Daddy? It's not safe here. The bad man is outside. Her eyes went wide. She grabbed her bunny and took my hand. We tiptoed to the back door, but I could hear footsteps on the porch. It was trying to find a way in. We need to hide, I told Sophia, leading her to the kitchen pantry. Stay in here. Don't make a sound. Don't come out unless you hear me say, I thought quickly, unless you hear me say mi corazón in Spanish, okay? She nodded, clutching her bunny. What if the bad daddy says it? He can't, I said, hoping. It was true. He only speaks English, remember? I closed the pantry door and faced the living room just as the front door burst open. Jenkins walked in, but his face was changing, melting like wax. Behind him was me, a perfect copy of me, in my uniform, with my face. Hello, Carlos, my copy said. His voice was exactly like mine. I've been looking for you. I raised my gun. Stay back. He smiled. It was a perfect smile, better than mine. You won't shoot. You're too confused, too divided. What are you? I asked. He spread his hands. I'm you, the better you, the perfect American. He stepped closer. I'm what you could be if you weren't. So torn, part Mexican, part American, belonging nowhere. Stay back, I said again, my gun shaking. You know what's funny? He said, still moving forward. Your daughter likes me better. I'm simpler. I don't confuse her. With me, she knows exactly who her daddy is. A real American hero. You're lying, I said, but I felt doubt creeping in. Am I? Ask her who helped her with homework yesterday. Ask her who told her bedtime stories last week while you were working late. His smile widened. I'm a better father than you. I don't carry shame everywhere I go. The Jenkins thing stood nearby, watching with empty eyes. My copy took another step. You're going to die tonight, Carlos. They'll find you and think you killed yourself out of guilt. And I'll comfort Sophia, raise her to be a proud American. No more Spanish, no more confusion. You won't touch my daughter, I said, my finger tightening on the trigger. I already have, he said, many times, and soon I'll be the only father she remembers. I fired the gun. The bullet hit him in the chest, but he didn't bleed. He didn't even flinch. That won't work, he said, sounding almost sad. You can't kill what you are. He lunged at me. We fell to the floor fighting. It was like wrestling with a mirror. He knew every move I would make before I made it. His hands found my throat. Your problem, he said as he squeezed, is that you never chose. Mexican or American, father or agent, you tried to be both and ended up being nothing. Black spots danced in my vision. I was losing. I couldn't breathe. Daddy? Sophia's small voice came from the pantry. Is that you fighting? My copy's head turned toward her voice. I used that moment to break free, scrambling away. Stay in there, Sophia, I yelled. My copy smiled. Mi corazón, he called in perfect Spanish. You can come out now. The bad man is gone. The pantry door started to open. No, I shouted. Sophia, that's not me. She hesitated, the door half open. I could see her scared face peering out. My copy looked at me, then at her. Sophia, sweetheart, I'm your real daddy. Don't listen to him. Sophia looked between us, confused and frightened. Which one has Abuelito's beads? She asked in a small voice. My hand went to my chest. The rosary was still there. I pulled it out to show her. My copy smiled and did the same. Somehow he had a perfect copy of my grandfather's rosary too. Sophia started to cry. I don't know which daddy is real. In that moment, I understood what I had to do. This creature fed on confusion, on divided identity. It could copy anything. I showed the world, my face, my voice, even my grandfather's rosary. But it couldn't copy what was inside me, my real self, not the performance I put on every day. I looked at Sophia and spoke from my heart. Mi corazón, do you remember when you had a bad dream last month? You dreamed monsters were under your bed. Sophia nodded, still looking scared. And what did I tell you? I asked. That monsters aren't real, she said. No, I said gently. I told you that some monsters are real, but they're only scary because we don't understand them. I told you that sometimes the scariest monsters are the ones we make up in our heads. Recognition dawned in her eyes. And you said that you were scared sometimes too, that it's okay to be scared. My copy looked confused. This wasn't in his script. That's right, I said. A real daddy isn't perfect. A real daddy makes mistakes. A real daddy gets scared and confused sometimes. I put down my gun and knelt on the floor, opening my arms. A real daddy loves you just the way you are. English and Spanish, American and Mexican, all of it mixed up together. Sophia looked at me, then at my copy who was still standing tall and strong. Perfect. Too perfect. Come here, Sophia, my copy said, his voice confident. Daddy will keep you safe. Sophia stepped out of the pantry, looking between us. Then she ran, straight into my arms. You're my real daddy, she whispered. My copy's face twisted with rage. He lunged toward us, but something strange happened. His perfect face began to melt like wax in the sun. The Jenkins thing made a horrible sound and crumpled to the floor. No, my copy screamed, but his voice wasn't mine anymore. It was hollow, empty. You can't choose both. You have to choose. I just did, I said, holding Sophia tight. I choose to be imperfect, to be confused sometimes, to be both Mexican and American, to honor my oath, but also my humanity. My copy's body seemed to collapse in on itself, melting into a puddle of nothing on my living room floor. The Jenkins thing dissolved too, leaving only clothes behind. Sophia looked up at me with wide eyes. Was that a real monster, Daddy? I thought about how to answer. About all the monsters we create with our fears and doubts, about the impossible standards we set for ourselves. Yes, mi corazon, I said finally, but not the kind that lives under beds, the kind that lives in here. I touched my heart. When we try too hard to be perfect, when we're ashamed of who we really are. Sophia nodded like she understood, though I knew she couldn't fully. Not yet. Are you still a hero? She asked in a small voice. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in years. I'm trying to be, but not a perfect hero, just a real one. I held her close, feeling my grandfather's rosary against my chest. For the first time, it didn't burn with shame. It just felt like a part of me, a part of us. Outside, I could hear sirens approaching. I would have a lot of explaining to do. People had died, but I would tell the truth, as impossible as it seemed, because I finally understood what the creature had been. It was the mask I wore every day, the perfect performance of identity that was killing the real me inside. And by accepting all the messy, confused, imperfect parts of myself, I had destroyed it. Come on, mi corazon, I said, taking Sophia's hand. Let's go tell them who we really are. My name is Vincent Ashworth, but everyone calls me Vince. I'm sitting alone in this cabin, watching the snow pile up against the windows and thinking about my little girl. The radio crackles to life, breaking the silence that's been pressing in on me all day. Daddy? Emma's voice is small and sleepy through the static. My heart skips a beat like it always does when I hear her. Hey, sweetheart, shouldn't you be in bed? I check my watch. It's past 9 back home. Mommy said I could stay up to talk to you. There's rustling on the other end, and I picture her wrapped in her favorite purple blanket, the one with stars all over it. When are you coming home? I swallow hard. Soon, Em. Just a few more days of work up here, and then I'll be back. Promise? Promise. I say it too quickly, knowing deep down that the snowstorm might make that impossible, but I can't bear to disappoint her again. Daddy, will you sing me the song about the mockingbird when you get home? She asks, her voice drifting toward sleep. Of course I will, I tell her, clutching the radio a little tighter, just like I always do. I miss you. I miss you too, kiddo, more than you know. After she hangs up, I pull out the picture she drew for me. It shows the two of us at the zoo, stick figures holding hands. Come home safe, Daddy is written across the top in big, wobbly letters. I keep it in my shirt pocket, right over my heart. I'm trying, Em, I whisper to the drawing. I'm really trying. Outside, the wind picks up, howling through the trees around the abandoned logging camp. For a second, it almost sounds like a child crying. I shake my head. Just the wind. It has to be just the wind. I reach for my tape recorder. Even though I'm miles away, I still record a bedtime story for Emma every night. I haven't missed one in the 2 years since the divorce. It's the one promise I've managed to keep. Once upon a time, I begin, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. There was a brave little girl and her daddy who loved her more than anything in the whole wide world. What I don't say into the recorder is that this research trip is my last chance to rebuild my ruined career, my last chance to prove to the judge that I deserve to be in my daughter's life, my last chance to keep my promise that I'll never leave her alone. As I finish the story, something moves in the shadows outside my window. Just for a second, it looks like a small figure, child-sized, watching me. I blink and it's gone, just my imagination. It has to be. I've been at this old logging camp for almost 2 weeks now. The Adirondack Mountains are beautiful, but they're also lonely and cold, especially in October. Most people think I'm crazy for coming here alone, but I had no choice. 3 years ago, I was somebody. Dr. Vincent Ashworth, respected anthropologist, studying stories people tell about monsters and ghosts. Then I made a terrible mistake. I wanted so badly to prove my theory about Emma's imaginary friend being based on real local stories that I changed some of my research, made things up. When they found out, I lost my job, my reputation, and almost lost Emma too. The divorce happened right after. My ex-wife got main custody of Emma. Now she's getting remarried to some lawyer named David, and I'm terrified Emma will forget me. The judge said I need steady work and a stable life if I want more time with my daughter. That's why I'm here. A friend told me about old stories in these mountains, real ones this time. Stories about something that lives in an abandoned mine and calls to parents using their children's voices. If I can document these properly, maybe the university will take me back. Maybe I can be the father Emma deserves. My cabin is small, but has everything I need. A desk for my notes, a bed, a wood stove, and shelves for my equipment. Outside, there are 5 other empty cabins scattered around what used to be the main yard of the logging camp. The forest presses, in close, tall pines swaying in the wind. About a mile north is the old mine entrance, sealed up with wooden boards and warning signs. I unpack my recorder and notebooks, setting Emma's picture on my desk where I can see it. My hands shake a little when I'm not holding something. That started after I lost regular time with Emma. The doctor calls it stress, but I know it's guilt. Sleep hardly ever comes these days. I lie awake thinking about Emma growing up without me. Her mother's new husband taking her to school, teaching her to ride a bike, being there when she's scared at night. All the things I should be doing. Today I found something important. An old journal from a local forest ranger dated 1895. It mentions the crying children of Blackwood Mine and how parents would sometimes wander in, following voices that sounded just like their kids. None of them ever came back out. This could be it, the proof I need. Real folklore, properly documented. My ticket back to Emma. As I'm reading, the radio crackles again. It's Emma's mother. "Vince, the school just called. Emma's in the play. Next Tuesday. She's going to be a tree." Her voice is tight, like she already knows what I'm going to say. "I'll be there, I promise. The storm should clear by Sunday. I'll drive straight back. Don't make promises you can't keep. She was crushed when you missed her birthday." "I'll be there," I repeat, harder this time. After she hangs up, I check the weather report again. The storm is getting worse, not better, but I can't miss another important day. I just can't. That night, as I'm making dinner, just beans and hot dogs, I catch myself setting out 2 plates, one for me and one for Emma, like she's right here with me. I stare at the empty chair across from mine and feel a coldness that has nothing to do with the weather. "Just a few more days," I tell Emma's picture, "then I'll be home for good." From somewhere in the forest, something answers with a sound like a child laughing. I freeze, fork halfway to my mouth. That wasn't the wind. I grab my flashlight and peer out the window into the darkness. The trees stand silent now, branches heavy with fresh snow. Nothing moves, but I can't shake the feeling that something is watching me. Something that knows exactly how much I miss my little girl. I woke up this morning to footprints in the snow outside my cabin. Small footprints like a child might make. They led from the edge of the forest right up to my window, then back toward the old mine. "Hello?" I called out, following the tracks a little way. "Is someone there?" No answer except the quiet crunch of snow under my boots. I'm not the only researcher here, though I'm the only one staying in this cluster of cabins. Eddie Kowalski is camped about half a mile east. He's studying old mining records, not folklore like me. Eddie has a 6-year-old son back home in Buffalo. He showed me pictures yesterday when we met for coffee, a smiling boy with his front teeth missing. The wind picked up as I headed back to my cabin, bringing a strange smell with it. Pine sap, which makes sense with all these trees, but also something sweet, like strawberry shampoo, the kind Emma uses. I stopped dead in my tracks, heart pounding. "Emma!" I called, knowing it was impossible. She's hundreds of miles away with her mother. But for a second, I could have sworn I heard her giggle. Back in my cabin, I tried to focus on my work. The Ranger's Journal mentioned other stories, parents hearing their children calling from the sealed mine entrance. I found old newspaper clippings too, about search parties looking for missing fathers and mothers who had wandered off into the woods. As I was reading, my tape recorder clicked on by itself. I jumped, knocking over my coffee. The machine whirred, rewound, and then played, "Daddy, will you sing me the song about the mockingbird?" It was Emma's voice, but I hadn't recorded our conversation from last night. The recorder had been off, sitting on my desk. I hit stop so hard I nearly broke the button. My hands were shaking, worse than usual. Just a technical glitch, I told myself. Maybe I did record our talk and forgot. I've been tired lately, not thinking straight. That afternoon, I hiked over to Eddie's camp to borrow some coffee. I found him sitting outside, staring at a photograph of his son. "You okay?" I asked. He looked up slowly, like he was waking from a dream. "I heard Tommy last night," he said, "out in the woods, crying for me." A chill ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the cold. "That's impossible. Your son is in Buffalo." "I know that," Eddie snapped, then immediately looked sorry. "I know, but it was his voice, Vince. I'd know it anywhere." I thought about my recorder playing Emma's voice, about the footprints, about the smell of strawberry shampoo. "It's just the wind," I said, not believing it myself. "These mountains play tricks on you." Eddie nodded, but his eyes kept drifting toward the forest. "Yeah, just the wind." I left with an uneasy feeling in my stomach. On the way back to my cabin, I swear the trees whispered to me in Emma's voice, "Daddy, come play with me." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking I heard footsteps on my porch. Small, light footsteps. Every time I checked, there was nothing there, but the footprints in the snow were fresh. I called Emma's mother on the radio just to hear Emma's voice, to know she was safe. "Daddy," Emma sounded so happy. "I'm practicing my tree lines for the play." "That's great, sweetheart." I pressed the radio closer, like I could somehow reach through it and touch her. "I'll be there to see you, I promise." "Cross your heart?" "Cross my heart," I said, making the motion over my chest. After we hung up, I took out Emma's picture from my pocket. It felt warm, almost like living skin. Indeed, damn, I turned on the light and saw what looked like teardrops on the paper, but they weren't mine. The next morning, Eddie was gone. I found his campsite empty, his tent flap open, letting in the snow. His things were still there, backpack, supplies, research papers, but his son's photo was missing. I followed his tracks in the fresh snow. They led straight toward the mine entrance. That's when I found him. Eddie was frozen solid, on his knees in the snow, arms outstretched like he was reaching for someone. In his hand was the crumpled photo of his son, and behind him in the snow were small footprints, child-sized, leading toward the mine, then vanishing. I reported Eddie's death right away. The park rangers came with their snowmobiles and took his body away. They said he probably got confused. In the dark, wandered off and froze to death. It happens sometimes in these mountains, they told me. The cold can make people do strange things. But they didn't see the look on his face. He wasn't confused or scared when he died. He was smiling like he'd found what he was looking for. I should have left then, packed up my things and gone home to Emma. But I couldn't stop thinking about those small footprints and Eddie saying he heard his son's voice. There was something here, something real, and I needed to understand it. 2 days after Eddie died, I met Martha Henley. She ran the small general store about 5 miles down the mountain, the only place to get supplies without driving all the way to town. Martha was in her 60s with grey hair and kind eyes. When I went in for more coffee and batteries, she was putting up pictures of her granddaughter. "She's coming to visit next week," Martha told me, smiling. "First time in 2 years. Her parents moved to California after my son died." I nodded, looking at the little girl in the photos. She had pigtails and a missing front tooth, just like Emma at that age. "You have kids?" Martha asked. "A daughter, Emma. She's 8. I showed her the picture from my pocket. It was dry now, no sign of the teardrops I'd seen. Martha's smile faded a little. "You be careful up there by the old mine," she said, lowering her voice. "People hear things, see things that ain't really there." "What kind of things?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She shook her head. "Things they've lost, things they miss." Then she wouldn't say anything more. That night, it got worse. I woke up at exactly 3:17 a.m. to music playing. Not from my recorder. This time, but from outside. It sounded like someone playing a flute, but the notes formed a tune I knew by heart. Emma's Mockingbird Lullaby. I wrapped myself in my coat and stepped outside. The music was coming from the direction of the mine. Clear and sweet, it floated through the trees, calling to me. "Hello," I shouted. "Who's there?" The music stopped, then soft but clear. "Daddy, come find me." Emma's voice, perfect in every way, the slight lisp from her missing tooth, the way she always went up at the end of sentences. But Emma was hundreds of miles away. I ran back inside and called her mother on the radio. It took 10 minutes of ringing before she answered, groggy with sleep. "Vince, it's the middle of the night. What's wrong? Is Emma there? Is she okay?" My voice was shaking. "Of course she's here. She's asleep. Vince, are you? Put her on, please. I need to hear her voice." There was a long pause, then rustling. "Daddy?" Emma's sleepy voice came through. "Is it morning?" Relief washed over me. "No, sweetheart, I just wanted to say good night." "You already did. You sent me a story tape yesterday." "Right, of course. Go back to sleep, Em. I love you." "Love you too, Daddy." After they hung up, I sat holding the radio, trying to make sense of what was happening. If Emma was safe at home, whose voice had I heard calling from the forest? The next day, Martha Henley was found at the bottom of Black Rock Ravine. The rangers said she must have slipped in the dark, but her car was parked at the trailhead that led to the old mine, 5 miles from the ravine, and clutched in her hand was a child's hair ribbon. That same afternoon, I found something in the old ranger's journal I'd missed before. A passage about the mourning father, a creature that was once a man who lost his child in a mine collapse. It said he refused to stop digging for his child, even as weeks passed. Eventually, he became something else, something that fed on parental love and grief. As I read this, my tape recorder clicked on again. This time it played my own voice singing Emma's lullaby. "Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Papa's gonna buy you a mockingbird." But I had never recorded myself singing that song. When the song ended, a different voice came through the recorder, a man's voice, rough and tired. "They never stop crying, do they? Our children, even when they're gone." I threw the recorder across the room. It hit the wall and broke open, but somehow it kept playing. "She's waiting for you, Dr. Ashworth. You're Emma. She's cold and alone and waiting for her daddy to find her." Outside my window, I saw footprints forming in the fresh snow. One by one, like someone invisible was walking toward my cabin. Small footprints, child-sized. and I smelled strawberry shampoo. I haven't slept in 3 days. Every time I close my eyes, I hear Emma calling for me. Not from the radio, from the forest, from the mine. I know it's not really her. I've called her mother 5 times to make sure Emma is safe at home. She is. But the voice in the woods sounds exactly like her. It knows things only Emma would say. It knows about our special songs, her favorite stuffed animals, the nickname I call her when it's just the 2 of us. Yesterday, Tommy Richardson arrived at the camp. He's a new father. His son is only 6 months old. Tommy came to study the old-growth forests, not knowing anything about Eddie or Martha or the voices in the woods. I tried to warn him. You should leave, I told him when he stopped by my cabin to introduce himself. It's not safe here. Tommy laughed. Because of the storm? I've got chains on my truck. No, I said, because of something else. I must have looked crazy, unshaven, dark circles under my eyes, hands shaking as I clutched Emma's picture. Tommy backed away slowly, promising to check in on me later. That night, the snow started again, heavier than before. I knew I wouldn't make it back for Emma's play. The roads would be closed for days. I called her mother to explain, but Emma got on the radio before I could finish. You promised, Daddy, she said, her voice small and hurt. You crossed your heart. I know, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. The snow, you're just like Mommy says. You make promises you don't keep. The radio went dead. I tried calling back, but no one answered. That's when I started building the snow fort. I don't know why exactly. I just knew I needed to make something safe for Emma when she arrived. Because she was coming. The voice in the forest told me so. I worked through the night, packing snow into walls, carving out windows, making snow furniture inside. My fingers turned blue with cold, but I couldn't stop. Emma needed this fort to be perfect. Around dawn, I saw Tommy Richardson walking toward the mine entrance. He was moving stiffly, like he was sleepwalking, clutching something to his chest. "Tommy!" I shouted. "Stop!" He turned toward me and I saw his face was wet with tears. In his hands was a baby blanket. "My son," he said. "He's crying. Can't you hear him?" I couldn't. All I could hear was Emma singing our special lullaby from somewhere near the mine. "It's not your son," I said, trying to sound calm even though my heart was racing. "It's something else, something that wants to hurt you." Tommy's face hardened. "You don't understand. You can't hear him because he's not yours. But he needs me." He turned and continued walking toward the mine. I followed, trying to grab his arm, but he pushed me away with surprising strength. "Stay away from my son," he shouted, then ran the rest of the way to the mine entrance. I lost sight of him in the falling snow. By the time I reached the mine, he was gone. The old wooden boards that had sealed the entrance were torn away, leaving a dark hole like an open mouth. Small footprints led inside, alongside Tommy's larger ones. I stood there, snow swirling around me, listening. From deep in the mine came a sound. Not a child crying, but a man screaming. Then silence. I ran back to my cabin and barricaded the door. I pushed my desk against it, then the bed, then everything else I could move. I covered the windows with blankets and turned off all the lights except for one small flashlight. In the darkness, I whispered to Emma's picture, "It's not you out there. I know it's not you. You're safe at home with your mother." The picture felt warm in my hands, almost like it was alive. For a second, I thought I saw the crayon drawing move, the stick figure of Emma turning her head to look at me. "Daddy," came a whisper right next to my ear. "Why didn't you come to my play?" I spun around, but there was no one there, just shadows and the howling wind outside. My radio crackled to life, making me jump. It wasn't Emma or her mother, this time. It was Ranger Bill Murphy, checking on everyone because of the storm. "Dr. Ashworth, you there? Just making sure you're okay after what happened to Tommy Richardson." My blood went cold. What happened to Tommy? Search and rescue found him an hour ago, frozen solid. Looks like he was digging in the snow with his bare hands. Had a baby blanket stuffed in his mouth. I couldn't speak. Dr. Ashworth, you there? We're recommending immediate evacuation of all research personnel. The road down will be clear for maybe 2 hours before the next storm hits. 2 hours. Just enough time to get out, to get away. From this place and the voice in the woods. To get back to the real Emma. But as I looked down at her picture in my hands, I realized I couldn't leave. Not yet. Because what if I was wrong? What if it really was Emma out there, lost and cold, and needing her daddy? What kind of father would I be if I left without making sure? I'm staying, I told Ranger Murphy over the radio. I need to finish my research. That's not advisable, Dr. Ashworth, he said, his voice crackling through the static. 3 deaths in 1 week isn't a coincidence. Something's not right up there. I'll be fine, I lied. I just need 1 more day. After he signed off, I sat in my barricaded cabin listening to the wind. It didn't sound like wind anymore. It sounded like Emma crying softly. Daddy, I'm cold. Why won't you come find me? I pressed my hands over my ears, but her voice seemed to come from inside my head now. I picked up my broken tape recorder and spoke into it, even though it couldn't record anymore. Emma, if you can hear this, I love you. I'm sorry I missed your play. I'm sorry for everything. To my horror, the recorder answered back in Emma's voice, If you're sorry, then come get me. I'm scared of the dark, Daddy. I threw the recorder down and grabbed my coat, flashlight, and Emma's picture. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know, once and for all, if by some impossible chance my daughter was really here. The snow was falling so hard I could barely see. The wind cut through my coat like ice knives, but I followed the sound of Emma's voice, calling me from the direction of the mine. About halfway there, I found Ranger Murphy. He was hanging from a tree, his body frozen solid. His arms were stretched upward like he was trying to lift something, or someone, to safety. His face was locked in a smile. I should have turned. Back then, every part of me that was still thinking clearly screamed to run, but Emma's voice kept calling, more desperate now. Daddy! He's coming! Please hurry! I ran the rest of the way to the mine entrance. The broken boards lay scattered in the snow. The darkness inside seemed to breathe, pulsing like a living thing. Small footprints led inside. Emma? I called, my voice shaking. From deep in the mine came the sound of her singing our special lullaby, the Mockingbird song. Her voice echoed against the stone walls, sweet and pure and terrified. I clicked on my flashlight and stepped inside. The air smelled like copper pennies and strawberry shampoo. The beam of light showed a narrow tunnel sloping downward, its walls wet with melting ice. I followed it, careful not to slip. The tunnel opened into a large chamber. My flashlight beam caught something white gleaming on the far wall. As I moved closer, I realized what I was seeing. Bones, human bones arranged in careful patterns, adult skeletons curled protectively around smaller animal bones, dozens of them covering the walls and floor of the chamber. In the center stood a figure. At first I thought it was a man, tall and thin, wearing tattered clothes. But as my light hit it, I saw it wasn't human. Not anymore. Its skin was gray and stretched too tight over its bones. Its fingers were long and ended in points. And its face was blank, except for a wide, lipless mouth. Behind it, scratched into the stone wall, was a child's drawing. A stick-figure child holding hands with a stick-figure adult. Emma, I whispered, though I knew now she had never been here. The creature's mouth opened. From it came Emma's voice, perfect in every detail. Daddy, you came. I knew you would. I backed away, bumping into the bone arrangements behind me. You're not my daughter. The creature tilted its head. When it spoke again, it was with the voice of a man, tired and sad. No, but I understand what it means to lose a child. I haven't lost Emma. I said, clutching her picture tighter. "She's safe at home." "Is she?" the creature asked, and now its voice was Eddie's, then Martha's, then Tommy's, then Ranger Murphy's, a chorus of voices from the people it had killed. "How can you be sure if you're not with her? Children need their parents. They cry when we leave them alone." It took a step toward me. I could feel myself being pulled toward it, like Emma's tiny hand was tugging on my sleeve. "She's waiting for you," it said in Emma's voice again. "She'll always be waiting, unless you stay here with me. Then I can make the crying stop." I understood. And then this thing fed on parental love, on our desperate need to protect our children. It used that love as a weapon, turning our greatest strength into our fatal weakness. "No," I said, backing toward the tunnel entrance. "Emma is safe. She doesn't need me to find her here." The creature's blank face seemed to ripple with anger. "Then you'll hear her crying forever," it hissed, its voice no longer Emma's, but something ancient and cold. "Every night for the rest of your life, you'll hear your child calling for you, and you'll know you abandoned her." "I never abandoned her," I said. But even as I spoke, I thought of all the promises I'd broken, the birthday I'd missed, the school play I wouldn't make it to. The creature sensed my doubt. It lunged forward with impossible speed. I turned to run, but my foot caught on a bone. I fell hard, my flashlight spinning away into the darkness. In the last flash of light, I saw the creature bending over me, its mouth opening wider than any human mouth could. From it came Emma's voice, scared and small. "Daddy, don't leave me alone in the dark. You promised." I reached for my tape recorder, hitting the record button even though I knew it was broken. But somehow it started working, capturing my final words. "Emma," I gasped into the recorder, "if you ever hear this, know that I love you. I'm sorry I couldn't keep all my promises, but I kept the most important one." As the creature's cold hands closed around me, I sang into the recorder. "Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Papa's gonna buy you a mockingbird." My voice grew weaker with each line, and as the darkness took me, another voice joined in, not Emma's, but something old and hungry that had learned to sound like a child. The last thing I saw was Emma's picture clutched in my hand, the crayon figures seeming to move in the dying flashlight beam, the daddy figure reaching for the little girl, always reaching, never quite touching. 3 weeks later, a package arrived at Lisa Ashworth's house. It was addressed to Emma in handwriting she recognized as her ex-husband's. The return address was from the Adirondack Research Station. Lisa almost didn't give it to Emma. The news about Vince had come 2 weeks ago. How they'd found his empty cabin, the half-built snow fort outside, his truck still parked in the drive. The search teams had combed the mountains for days before the next big storm hit, but found nothing except his flashlight near the old mine entrance. She'd told Emma that Daddy was lost, maybe in heaven now. Emma had cried for days, carrying around the last picture Vince had sent her, a selfie of him standing in front of his cabin, smiling despite the dark circles under his eyes. Now this package. Lisa turned it over in her hands, wondering if she should open it first. In the end, she decided Emma deserved whatever final message her father had sent. "Emma, honey, there's something for you in the mail." Emma came downstairs slowly. She'd been quiet since the news about her dad, her usual bounce gone from her step. When she saw the package, her eyes lit up for the first time in weeks. "Is it from Daddy?" Lisa nodded, her throat tight. "Do you want help opening it?" Emma shook her head and carefully tore away the brown paper. Inside was a small box containing a tape, like the ones Vince always sent with bedtime stories. It was labeled simply, "For Emma," in Vince's neat handwriting. "Can I play it?" Emma asked, already heading for the old tape player they kept just for Daddy's stories. Lisa wanted to say no. Something about the package made her uneasy. It had been mailed after Vince disappeared, but she couldn't bring herself to take this last connection away from her daughter. Go ahead, sweetheart. Emma put the tape in and pressed play. The sound quality was poor, full of static and strange echoes, like it had been recorded somewhere underground. Vince's voice came through, shaky but clear. Emma, if you ever hear this, know that I love you. I'm sorry I couldn't keep all my promises, but I kept the most important one. There was a pause. Then Vince began to sing the Mockingbird lullaby. His voice sounded strained, like he was having trouble breathing. Halfway through, the song faltered. Lisa moved to turn it off, but Emma stopped her. "Wait," she whispered. "He's still singing." And he was. But the voice completing the lullaby didn't sound quite like Vince anymore. It was deeper, older somehow, with a strange echo that made the hair on Lisa's arms stand up. As the song ended, there was silence, then a soft whisper that might have been Vince or might have been the wind. "I'll never leave you alone, Emma." The tape clicked off. Emma sat very still, staring at the player. "Daddy kept his promise," she said finally. "He sang me the Mockingbird song," Lisa nodded, not trusting herself to speak. Something about that voice at the end hadn't been right. It had sounded like Vince, but also like something else, something old and hungry using her ex-husband's voice. That night, after Emma was asleep, Lisa tried to find the tape to listen to it again, but it was gone from the player. She found it eventually on Emma's bedside table, next to a new drawing. The picture showed a stick-figure girl holding hands with a tall, thin figure that wasn't quite a man. Behind them was what looked like a cave entrance. Across the top, in Emma's careful handwriting, were the words, "Daddy says he'll come visit soon." Lisa's hand trembled as she picked up the drawing. "Emma, where did you get this idea?" Emma stirred in her sleep but didn't wake. From outside came the sound of wind through the trees. For just a moment, it seemed to form words. "Hush, little baby, don't say a word." Lisa quickly closed the window and locked it. As she turned to leave, she noticed something on Emma's dresser that made her freeze. A small pile of pine needles, dusted with what looked like coal dust, and next to it, the faint smell of strawberry shampoo mixed with something older and earthier. On the window pane, visible now in the moonlight, was a handprint. Too large to be Emma's, too long in the fingers to be human. Lisa backed out of the room, her heart pounding. In Emma's bed, her daughter smiled in her sleep, as if listening to a familiar voice singing her favorite lullaby. From the darkness beyond the window came a soft tapping, like bony fingers against glass. Tap, tap, tap. The rhythm of a lullaby, about a mockingbird, sung by a father who had promised never to leave his little girl alone. A father who had kept his promise even after death, even after becoming something else. "My name is Maria Elena Vasquez. I'm 29 years old, and I used to save lives as an Air Force medic. Now I'm getting ready for my last hike in the mountains, the one I won't be coming back from. 3 days from now is October 12th, my son Miguel's birthday. He would have been turning 7. I still make his breakfast every morning, you know, a bowl of Cheerios with banana slices in the shape of a smile, just how he liked it. His bedroom is exactly the same as the day he left, his dinosaur. Blanket is still messy on his bed. His favorite book is still open where he stopped reading. I keep thinking he might come back home. Deep down, I know he won't. It was my fault Miguel died. We were driving home from my friend's house last year. It was raining. I had 3 glasses of wine, but thought I was okay to drive. I wasn't. There was a crash. Miguel was asleep in his car seat with his stuffed rabbit. I walked away without a scratch. My beautiful boy died before the ambulance even got there. I wear Miguel's St. Christopher medal around my neck now. I squeeze it so hard sometimes that it cuts my hand. The pain feels right somehow. Every time I hear the wind blow through the trees, it sounds like Miguel calling Mommy. Sometimes I answer back, even though no one's there. Tomorrow I'm taking a group of 8 people hiking in the Sangre de Cristo Mountains. It's my job to keep them safe. It's my last chance to save someone before I join my son. That's the promise I made at his grave, to save as many lives as I could before my time was up. After this trip on Miguel's birthday, I'm going to end my pain. I've had it all planned for months, but first I need to do this one last good thing. The morning sun hadn't even peeked over the mountains when I started packing my guide bag. I checked my medical supplies 3 times. Bandages, antiseptic, splints, pain meds, Miguel's stuffed rabbit tucked in the side pocket. "Watch over me today, mijo," I whispered to it. I met my group at the trailhead at 7 a.m. 8 people who didn't know they were part of my goodbye plan. There was Jake, a college kid with too much energy and not enough sense. Linda, a middle-aged mom who reminded me of myself before everything. Robert, quiet and careful, always watching the sky. Susan with her diabetes kit that she checked every hour. David, the oldest at 52, who kept showing everyone pictures of his grandkids. The others were a blur of faces and names I tried to memorize. "I'm Maria, your guide," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "This mountain can be dangerous, so we stick together, no exceptions." As we started up the trail, I felt the weight of responsibility press down on me. 8 lives in my hands. 8 chances to get something right before the end. The first few hours were easy. The trail was clear, the weather cool but sunny. I walked at the front, stopping now and then to point out a bird or plant. Miguel would have loved the eagle we spotted circling above. He was crazy about birds. "You're good at this," Linda said, catching up to me during a water break. "How long have you been a guide?" 3 years, I answered, fiddling with Miguel's medal. "Started after I left the Air Force." "Military, huh?" "My brother was Army. Said it was the hardest job he ever loved." I nodded, not trusting my voice. The Air Force had been my life before Miguel. Then it became just a job. After he died, I couldn't stand the hospital anymore. Too many people I couldn't save. By midday, Jake had a blister on his heel. Nothing serious, but I made everyone stop while I treated it. I pulled out my kit, laid everything out neat and clean. "This might sting," I warned as I cleaned the raw skin. I worked quickly, talking softly to the rabbit peeking out of my bag like I used to do when Miguel watched me patch up his scraped knees. "See, mijo, just like I showed you. Clean it good so no germs get in." Jake gave me a strange look, but didn't say anything. As we hiked higher, the trees thinned out and the wind picked up. That's when I first heard it, a sound like a child. Crying carried on the breeze. I stopped so suddenly that Robert bumped into me. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Did you hear that?" My heart was racing. It sounded so much like Miguel. Robert shook his head. "Just the wind." But it wasn't just the wind. I'd know my son's voice anywhere. That night we made camp in a clearing. While the others set up tents, I kept looking over my shoulder, feeling like someone was watching us. The forest seemed different, darker somehow. The sheep from a nearby ranch were making strange noises, not their usual bleating, but something that sounded like gasping breaths. I couldn't sleep. Every noise had me sitting up, checking the perimeter of our camp. Around 2 a.m., I found David, shivering outside his tent, confused and cold. "Hypothermia," I muttered, my training kicking in. I got him into my tent, wrapped him in emergency blankets, and stayed up all night, monitoring his temperature and pulse. By morning, he was better. The others called me a hero. "Just doing my job," I said. But inside, I felt a warm glow. Maybe this was why I was still here, to save just one more person. As I packed up my supplies, I swore I felt a small hand pat my shoulder. "Did you see Miguel?" I whispered. "Mommy saved him." But as we started hiking again, the feeling of being watched grew stronger. The air smelled wrong, like copper and bubble gum, Miguel's favorite flavor. My hands trembled as I checked the map. Something was on this mountain with us. Something that knew my name. Something that knew my son. The second day started with fog so thick I could barely see 10 feet ahead. We needed to reach the next campsite before dark, but the trail was treacherous, slippery rocks and sudden drops hidden in the mist. "Stay close," I ordered, counting heads every few minutes. "Hold. Onto the person in front of you if you need to." Jake was getting on my nerves, always wandering off to take pictures. "This would make an awesome horror movie set," he laughed, pointing his camera into the fog. If only he knew. Around noon, the trail narrowed along a steep ridge. I led the way, testing each step. Behind me I heard a yelp and then a sickening slide of loose rock. "Jake!" Linda screamed. I spun around to see Jake tumbling down the slope, disappearing into the fog. Without thinking, I dropped my pack and scrambled. After him. I found him 20 feet down, sprawled across a rocky ledge. Blood pooled under his head, his leg bent at a wrong angle. My training took over. Check airway, breathing, circulation. His pulse was weak, but there. "Jake, can you hear me?" I pressed a bandage against the gash on his head. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused. "Mum," he mumbled. My heart squeezed. "It's Maria. You're going to be okay." But he wasn't. As I worked frantically to stabilize him, his breathing grew more labored. My hands seemed clumsy. Everything I tried made things worse. The bandages soaked through too quickly. The splint wouldn't hold. "Stay with me, Jake," I begged, starting CPR when his heart stopped. As I pressed on his chest, I heard it. Miguel's voice, clear as day. "You failed again, Mommy." Jake died under my hands, just like Miguel. I couldn't save either of them. The others helped me carry Jake's body back to the trail. No one blamed me. They said I did everything I could. But I knew better. I'd failed. Again. That night I couldn't sleep. Every sound in the forest seemed like a warning. I checked on everyone hourly, counting breaths, feeling foreheads for fever. David had a small cough, and I immediately gave him cold medicine, even though he insisted he was fine. "Better safe than sorry," I told him, but really, I was talking to myself. The next morning, we decided to head back down. No one felt like continuing after Jake's death, but the trail we'd come up was washed out from overnight rain. "We need to take the east path," I said, studying the map. "It's longer but safer." Linda disagreed. "The west trail is more direct. We need to get Jake's body back." We argued, but in the end I gave in. I couldn't bear the thought of another death on my watch. The west trail was a mistake. Halfway down, we hit a section where a rock slide had taken out part of the path. We had to edge around it, backs pressed against the cliff face. Linda was in front of me, moving carefully. I heard the rock crack before I saw it, a basketball-sized boulder breaking loose above us. "Linda, look out!" I lunged forward, but I was too far away. I had to choose. Grab Linda or steady Robert, who was starting to slip behind me. I reached for Linda, but too late. The boulder struck her shoulder, sending her spinning off the edge with a scream that turned into her calling for her mother. Another failure. Another death. 2 in 2 days. That night, huddled in our makeshift camp, I began to see things in the shadows. Miguel's face reflected in puddles of rainwater. His voice in the wind begging me to save the other children. "I'm trying, mijo," I whispered, clutching his medal until my palm bled. "Mummy's trying so hard." The next morning, Robert complained of chest pains. I listened to his heart, gave him aspirin, told him to rest. But by midday, he collapsed. Heart attack. I started CPR, but with each compression I felt Miguel's final heartbeat under my hands instead. 1, 2, 3, I counted, pressing on Robert's chest. The rhythm matched exactly how Miguel's heart had faltered and stopped in the car that night. Robert died too. 3 deaths now. The others were looking at me differently, with fear instead of trust. I couldn't blame them. That night, I heard something moving outside the tents. Not an animal. something that walked almost like a person, but not quite. And it was making a wet, sucking sound that reminded me horribly of Miguel choking on his blood after the crash. "Don't go out there," Susan begged when I reached for my flashlight. But I had to. I had to see what was hunting us, what was using my son's voice to torture me. In the beam of my flashlight at the edge of camp, I saw a shape. For a second, it looked like a woman, a mother like me. Then it changed, becoming something twisted and wrong, with too many joints and hungry eyes. It smiled at me with a mouth full of needle teeth. "Mommy," it said in Miguel's voice. "Help me, Mommy!" I screamed until my throat was raw. Morning came after the longest night of my life. No one had slept. David kept saying we should call for rescue, but there was no cell service this high up. We were on our own. "We need to build better protection," I said, gathering branches and rocks. "Something's out there. Something dangerous." Susan looked at me like I was crazy. "Maria, we need to focus on getting down the mountain. 3 people are dead." "That's why we need protection," I snapped, dragging a heavy log across our campsite. "It's coming for us. Can't you feel it?" They exchanged worried glances, but helped me build walls around our camp. I worked until my hands were raw and bleeding, piling rocks, weaving branches together. If I could just make it safe enough, no one else would die, I wouldn't fail again. By midday, I'd built a circle of barriers around our tents. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. "Maria, you need to rest," David said gently, taking the branch from my bleeding hands. "You've been up for over 24 hours. I shook my head. "I can't. If I sleep, it'll come." "What will come?" I couldn't explain. How could I tell them about the thing that wore my dead son's voice, that fed on my guilt? They'd think I was insane. Maybe I was. That afternoon, while checking our supplies, I found Miguel's stuffed rabbit sitting on top of my backpack. I hadn't put it there. Next to it was a child's drawing, stick figures of a mom and boy surrounded by crosses. The mom was crying red tears. I stuffed it into my pocket before anyone could see. The wind picked up as evening approached, carrying whispers that only I could hear. "Let them die, Mammy. Let them die, and I'll come back." I covered my ears, but the voice was inside my head now. "You can save me instead. Choose me this time." That night, Susan's blood sugar dropped dangerously low. She was shaking, confused, reaching for her insulin. "I'll get it," I offered, digging through her pack. The insulin pen was there, but as I held it, a terrible thought crept in. If I used the insulin as bait, maybe I could lure the creature away from camp, save everyone else. "Maria?" Susan's voice was faint. "I need that now." I stared at the pen in my hand. Save Susan or use it to protect the group. "Maria, please." I gave her the insulin, but my hands shook so badly she had to inject herself. As her condition improved, I felt a wave of cold sweep through me. My body temperature dropped so low my teeth chattered, but Miguel's medal burned hot against my chest like it was on fire. "It's angry with me," I whispered. "Who's angry?" Susan asked, still pale but alert now. "The mountain. It wanted me to choose." That night I dreamed of the car crash, but different. In my dream, I was sober. I swerved in time. Miguel lived. But all around us, I saw the faces of my hiking group, dead and bloody in the rain. I woke up gasping, the creature's message clear. I could save Miguel by letting these people die. "No," I said aloud. "That's not real. That's not how it works." But what if it was? What if this was my punishment, to keep failing over and over, to save people because I failed to save my son? The next morning, we packed up to make our final. Pushed down the mountain, only 4 of us left now, me, Susan, David, and Mark, who had barely spoken since Jake died. "Stay close," I warned. "No matter what you see or hear, stay together." The forest felt wrong as we hiked. The trees seemed to bend toward us. Pools of rainwater reflected faces that weren't there. The air tasted like copper and bubble gum. Susan stumbled first, clutching her chest. "Can't breathe," she gasped. I rushed to help her, but as I touched her, my medical training seemed to work backward. Everything I did made her worse. Her lips turned blue. Her eyes bulged in terror. "Something's happening," David shouted, backing away from me. "Every time you touch her, she gets worse." He was right. My hands weren't healing anymore. They were hurting. The creature had corrupted my abilities, turned my need to save people into a weapon. Susan died, staring at me, knowing I had failed her. "I'm sorry," I sobbed, rocking back and forth. "I'm so sorry." David and Mark refused to let me near them after that. They walked ahead, leaving me to follow. I couldn't blame them. I was poison. That night, we made a cold camp. No fire, no talking. David kept watch while Mark slept. I sat, alone, cradling Miguel's rabbit. "Is this what you want?" I whispered to the darkness. "For me to fail them all? Is that my punishment?" The wind answered with Miguel's laugh, high and sweet, the sound I missed more than anything in the world. "It's using you," I realized aloud. "It's using me to hurt them." I made my decision then. I would leave before dawn, draw the creature away from David and Mark, give them a chance to escape while it followed me. But as I packed my few belongings, I heard a child crying somewhere in the trees, not Miguel's voice this time. Different, but just as frightened. "Hello," I called softly. "Is someone there?" The crying grew louder. Against every instinct screaming danger, I took my flashlight and followed the sound. The crying led me deeper into the forest. My flashlight beam bounced between dark trees, making shadows dance like monsters. I knew I shouldn't go alone. I knew it was dangerous. But the crying child's voice pulled at something deep inside me, the part that would always be a mother. "Hello?" I called again, softer now. "It's okay. I'm here to help." The crying stopped suddenly. In the silence that followed, I heard a twig snap behind me. I turned slowly, my heart hammering against my ribs. There, in a small clearing lit by moonlight, was Miguel. My Miguel, 6 years old, wearing his dinosaur pajamas and red sneakers. The same clothes he had on the day of the funeral. "Mijo," my voice broke. I knew it couldn't be him. I knew it was a trick. But he looked so real. "Mummy, I'm hurt," he whimpered, holding out his arms to me. There was blood on his pajamas, just like that night. "Please help me, Mummy." Every cell in my body screamed that this was wrong. This wasn't my son. It couldn't be. But my feet moved, and forward anyway, step by step. "I'm coming, baby," I whispered. "Mommy's coming." As I got closer, I could see things that weren't quite right. His eyes reflected the flashlight like an animal's. His skin looked too pale, almost blue. But his face, God, it was his face exactly as I remembered. "I've missed you so much," I said, now just a few feet away. He smiled, and for a second I saw too many teeth, sharp teeth. Then it was just Miguel's smile again, with the little gap where he'd lost his front tooth. "I've been waiting for you," he said. "You promised you'd come find me, remember?" I did. Remember? I'd whispered that promise to his body at the hospital before they took him away. That I would find him somehow, somewhere. I knelt down, arms outstretched. Every warning bell in my mind was ringing. But this was my son, my baby, and he needed me. "Miguel," I sobbed as I pulled him into my arms. He felt cold, so cold, but solid and real. He nestled against me just like he used to do when he was tired. I stroked his hair, tears streaming down my face. "It's okay now," I whispered. "Mummy's here." Behind me, I heard shouting, David's voice, calling my name. Then, running footsteps crashing through the underbrush. "Maria, get away from it!" David burst into the clearing, flashlight beam wild and jerky. "It's Miguel," I said, not looking up. "He came back to me." "That's not your son!" David was out of breath, terrified. Mark saw it. It's not human. In my arms, Miguel stiffened. His little body began to feel strange, like something was moving under his skin. "Don't listen to him, Mommy," Miguel said, but his voice had changed. It echoed now like many voices speaking together. "Hold me tighter." David was coming closer, still shouting warnings. I should have listened, I should have let go, but I couldn't. This was what I'd been praying for every day since the accident. One more chance to hold my son. One more chance to protect him. "Stay back," I warned David. "He's scared." "Maria, that thing killed Mark. I saw it. It's using your son to get to you." In my arms, Miguel began to change. His body grew longer, colder. His fingers stretched into claws that dug into my back. "Choose, Mommy." The thing that wasn't Miguel whispered against my neck. "Choose me or them. You can't save everyone." I knew then what it wanted. It had always been about choice, making me choose between saving my son and saving others, forcing me to fail again and again, feeding on my guilt and grief. David was only a few steps away now. He was trying to save me, not knowing he was putting himself in danger. "David, run!" I screamed. "Get out of here!" But it was too late. The creature in my arms unfolded like a nightmare, stretching up and over me. I still held it, couldn't make myself let go, even as it revealed its true form. Something ancient and hungry, with a mother's face twisted by endless grief. It lunged past me toward David. I grabbed at it, trying to pull it back, but it was too strong, too fast. David didn't even have time to scream. The creature tore into him while I watched, helpless. While I cradled what I thought was my son, a good man died. As David fell, the creature turned back. To me, its face shifted between Miguel's and something horrible, a woman's face stretched in eternal screaming grief. "You chose," it said, its voice a mother's broken wail. "You chose your dead child over the living, just as I did, just as we all do." I understood then. This thing had once been a mother too, a mother who lost her children and couldn't let go, who chose the dead over the living until she became something monstrous, something I was becoming too. "No," I whispered, backing away. "I'm not like you. I won't become like you." It laughed, a sound like children crying. "Too late. You already are. Every mother who can't save her child feeds me. Every mother who can't let go joins me." It reached for me with two long arms. "Your punishment isn't death, Maria Elena. Your punishment is to feed on guilt forever, to make other mothers choose as you have chosen." I clutched Miguel's medal, so hard it sliced into my palm. Blood dripped between my fingers. The creature sniffed the air. "Your blood smells like his, sweet, full of love and regret." It was right. I was full of regret. But as I stood there, watching this thing that fed on a mother's grief, I finally understood what I needed to do. I had to forgive myself. The creature circled me, its body moving in ways that hurt my eyes to watch. It kept changing. Sometimes looking like Miguel, sometimes like a woman, sometimes like something that had never been human at all. "You can't escape me," it hissed. "No mother who carries guilt ever does." I took a deep breath and pulled Miguel's stuffed rabbit from my pocket, the creature's eyes fixed on it hungrily. "I know what you are now," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "You're not my punishment. You're my grief turned into a monster." It smiled with too many teeth. "Clever mother, but knowing doesn't save you." "Miguel died because I made a terrible mistake," I said, speaking the truth I'd been running from. "I was drunk. I crashed our car. I killed my son." Saying it out loud felt like ripping open my chest. The pain was almost too much to bear. "Yes," the creature purred. "Your fault. All your fault. But punishing myself won't bring him back." I continued, tears streaming down my face. "Nothing will. And Miguel wouldn't want this. He wouldn't want me to die. He wouldn't want me to hurt people. The creature's form flickered like it was having trouble staying solid. Your son is dead. What he wants doesn't matter anymore. You're wrong, I said. What he would want matters more than anything. I looked at the stuffed rabbit in my hands. Miguel had loved this silly toy so much. He'd named it Hop Hop and carried it everywhere. He'd been such a loving, forgiving child. Miguel would forgive me, I whispered. Even if I can't forgive myself yet, I know he would. The creature shrieked, a sound like wind through broken glass. No, you killed him. You don't deserve forgiveness. It lunged at me, claws extended. I didn't run. Instead, I held the rabbit to my heart and spoke directly to my son, wherever he might be. I'm so sorry, mijo. I would give anything to change what happened, but I can't. All I can do is try to live in a way that would make you proud. The creature's claws sank into my shoulders, its face inches from mine. It smelled like copper and decay. Join us, it whispered, its voice a chorus of grieving mothers. We understand your pain. We can give him back to you. For a second, I saw Miguel standing behind the creature, smiling and whole. My heart nearly stopped. Just one more death, the creature promised. Just one more failure, and you can be with him forever. I almost gave in. God help me, I almost said yes. But then I remembered Miguel's laugh, his kindness, how he used to leave half his cookie for me because sharing makes the happy bigger, Mommy. My son would never want me to hurt anyone, not even to be with him again. No, I said firmly, I won't join you. I won't feed you anymore. The creature's grip tightened, its claws digging deeper. Then I'll take you anyway. Your guilt is strong enough to feed me for years. I killed my son, I said, looking directly into its shifting eyes. I will live with that forever, but I forgive myself for being human, for making a terrible mistake. Each word seemed to cause the creature physical pain. It writhed and hissed. You can't. Mothers who fail don't deserve forgiveness. We all deserve forgiveness, I said. Even you. I reached up and touched its face, the face that kept shifting between monster and mother. For a brief moment I saw the woman she had once been, someone like me, destroyed by grief. I forgive you too, I whispered. The creature let out a scream that shook the trees. Its body began to twist and fold in on itself. The cold that radiated from it was so intense my skin burned with it. No forgiveness, it gasped, its voice breaking. Only punishment, only pain. Not anymore, I said. Not for me. I took Miguel's medal from around my neck, the thing I'd clutched like a lifeline for so long, and placed it gently on the ground. The creature lunged for it, desperate. As its fingers touched the medal, something strange happened. Light poured from its mouth and eyes. The sound it made wasn't a scream anymore, but a sigh, a release. Then it collapsed, folding in on itself until there was nothing left but a dark stain on the forest floor and a whisper that might have been, "Thank you." I stood there shaking, hardly able to believe what had happened. My shoulders were bleeding, where its claws had dug in, but the pain felt distant. I picked up Miguel's medal and rabbit. For the first time since the accident, they didn't feel heavy with guilt. They just felt like precious memories of someone I had loved with all my heart. The sky was lightening in the east. Dawn was coming. Somehow I had survived the night. I knew what I had to do now. I had to get down this mountain. I had to find help. I had to tell someone what happened here, even if they didn't believe me. Most importantly, I had to live. Not just exist, but really live. For Miguel, for myself. The path back to camp was easier to find than I expected. As I walked, I talked softly to Miguel. Not as if he were here, but as if he could hear me somewhere. I miss you every day, mijo. I always will. but I'm going to try to be the mother you deserved. I'm going to help people, save people if I can." The sun was rising fully now, painting the trees gold. For the first time in a very long time, I felt something like peace. I wouldn't be joining Miguel on his birthday after all. I had people to save, a life to live, a son to make proud. The creature circled me, its body moving in ways that hurt my eyes to watch. It kept changing, sometimes looking like Miguel, sometimes like a woman, sometimes like something that had never been human at all. "You can't escape me," it hissed. "No mother who carries guilt ever does." I took a deep breath and pulled Miguel's stuffed rabbit from my pocket. The creature's eyes fixed on it hungrily. "I know what you are now," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "You're not my punishment. You're my grief turned into a monster." It smiled with too many teeth. "Clever mother, but knowing doesn't save you." "Miguel died because I made a terrible mistake," I said, speaking the truth I'd been running from. "I was drunk. I crashed our car. I killed my son." Saying it out loud felt like ripping open my chest. The pain was almost too much to bear. "Yes," the creature purred. "Your fault. All your fault. But punishing myself won't bring him back." I continued, tears streaming down my face. "Nothing will, and Miguel wouldn't want this. He wouldn't want me to die. He wouldn't want me to hurt people." The creature's form flickered like it was having trouble staying solid. "Your son is dead. What he wants doesn't matter anymore." "You're wrong," I said. "What he would want matters more than anything." I looked at the stuffed rabbit in my hands. Miguel had loved this silly toy so much. He'd named it Hop Hop and carried it everywhere. He'd been such a loving, forgiving child. "Miguel would forgive me," I whispered. "Even if I can't forgive myself yet, I know he would." The creature shrieked, a sound like wind through broken glass. "No, you killed him. You don't deserve forgiveness." It lunged at me, claws extended. I didn't run. Instead, I held the rabbit to my heart and spoke directly to my son, wherever he might be. "I'm so sorry, mijo. I would give anything to change what happened. But I can't. All I can do is try to live in a way that would make you proud." The creature's claws sank into my shoulders, its face inches from mine. It smelled like copper and decay. "Join us," it whispered, its voice a chorus of grieving mothers. "We understand your pain. We can give him back to you." For a second, I saw Miguel standing behind the creature, smiling and whole. My heart nearly stopped. "Just one more death," the creature promised. "Just one more failure, and you can be with him forever." I almost gave in. God help me, I almost said yes. But then I remembered Miguel's laugh, his kindness, how he used to leave half his cookie for me because sharing makes the happy bigger, Mummy. My son would never want me to hurt anyone, not even to be with him again. "No," I said firmly. "I won't join you. I won't feed you anymore." The creature's grip tightened, its claws digging deeper. "Then I'll take you anyway. Your guilt is strong enough to feed me for years." "I killed my son," I said, looking directly into its shifting eyes. "I will live with that forever, but I forgive myself for being human, for making a terrible mistake." Each word seemed to cause the creature physical pain. It writhed and hissed. "You can't. Mothers who fail don't deserve forgiveness." "We all deserve forgiveness," I said, "even you." I reached up and touched its face, the face that kept shifting between monster and mother. For a brief moment I saw the woman she had once been, someone like me, destroyed by grief. "I forgive you too," I whispered. The creature let out a scream that shook the trees. Its body began to twist and fold in on itself. The cold that radiated from it was so intense my skin burned with it. "No forgiveness," it gasped, its voice breaking. "Only punishment, only pain." "Not anymore," I said. Not for me. I took Miguel's medal from around my neck, the thing I'd clutched like a lifeline for so long, and placed it gently on the ground. The creature lunged for it, desperate. As its fingers touched the medal, something strange happened. Light poured from its mouth and eyes. The sound it made wasn't a scream anymore, but a sigh, a release. Then it collapsed, folding in on itself, until there was nothing left but a dark stain on the forest floor and a whisper that might have been, "Thank you." I stood there shaking, hardly able to believe what had happened. My shoulders were bleeding where its claws had dug in, but the pain felt distant. I picked up Miguel's medal and rabbit. For the first time since the accident, they didn't feel heavy with guilt. They just felt like precious memories of someone I had loved with all my heart. The sky was lightening in the east. Dawn was coming. Somehow I had survived the night. I knew what I had to do now. I had to get down this mountain. I had to find help. I had to tell someone what happened here, even if they didn't believe me. Most importantly, I had to live. Not just exist, but really live. For Miguel, for myself. The path back to camp was easier to find than I expected. As I walked, I talked softly to Miguel, not as if he were here, but as if he could hear me somewhere. I miss you every day, mijo. I always will. But I'm going to try to be the mother you deserved. I'm going to help people. Save people if I can. The sun was rising fully now, painting the trees gold. For the first time in a very long time, I felt something like peace. I wouldn't be joining Miguel on his birthday after all. I had people to save, a life to live, a son to make proud. I made it down the mountain alone. When I reached the ranger station covered in blood and babbling about a creature that fed on grief, they thought I was in shock. Maybe I was. They found the bodies where I said they would be. Jake at the bottom of the slope, Linda by the cliff, Robert near our second camp, Susan and David in the clearing. 5 people dead on what should have been a routine hike. The police questioned me for days. How did they all die? Why was I the only survivor? I told them the truth at first, but saw the looks they gave each other. So I changed my story. Said, we were attacked by a mountain lion, got lost in bad weather. Anything that made more sense than what really happened. Nobody believed the real story anyway. Nobody except the mothers. It started a week after I got home. A woman knocked on my door. Someone I'd never met. She had dark circles under her eyes and a photo of a little boy clutched in her hand. I've been having dreams, she said, about a woman on a mountain, about a child calling for help. I think you understand. I let her in. We talked for hours. She'd lost her son to cancer 3 years ago. Blamed herself for not noticing the symptoms sooner. The next night, another mother came, then another. Women who had lost children. Women carrying the weight of guilt. Women who dreamed of a creature on a mountain that promised to end their pain if they just gave in to it. I told them my story, the real one, about forgiveness being the only weapon against that kind of grief. Some listened, some didn't. I turned Miguel's room into a meeting place, not a shrine anymore, but somewhere healing could happen. I put away some of his things, but kept his photo on the wall, kept his stuffed rabbit on a shelf where everyone could see it. This is Hop Hop, I would tell the mothers who came. He helped save me. I still visit Miguel's grave every week. I tell him about the mothers I've helped, the ones who found their way back to living. I like to think it makes him happy. Sometimes, when the wind blows just right, I still hear his voice calling Mummy. But it doesn't hurt like it used to. Now it just reminds me that love doesn't end, even when life does. I don't make his breakfast anymore. Instead, I make my own, and sometimes enough to share with a mother who needs it. The rangers closed that section of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains after what happened. Too dangerous, they said. Unstable ground. But I know the real reason. Some nights, I dream of the creature. I see what it once was. A mother like me, destroyed by grief. I see her children calling to her. I see her failing to save them over and over. I see her turning into something monstrous because she couldn't forgive herself. I wake up from these dreams, cold but determined. There are other mothers out there, walking their own mountains of grief. Other women who might become something, unterrible if they don't find a way back. So I keep Miguel's medal with me, not as a reminder of failure, but as proof that I survived, that I chose life, that I found a way to forgive myself, even for the unforgivable. I know the creature isn't really gone. It's out there waiting, feeding on guilt and grief and the impossible choices mothers sometimes have to make. But I'm not afraid anymore. I know its secret now. I know how to fight it. Last week, a woman came to the house at midnight, eyes wild, voice shaking. She dreamed of the mountain, of her dead daughter calling to her, of a deal she could make, her life for her child's return. "I'm going to do it," she told me. "I don't care what it costs. I just want my baby back." I took her hands in mine. They were ice cold, just like mine had been on the mountain. "Let me tell you a story," I said, "about the last mother who made that choice, about what really waits on that mountain." She listened, and for now at least, she's still here, still fighting, still learning to forgive herself. But I know there will be others. The creature is patient, grief is endless. And somewhere in the mountains, a mother's voice still calls in the wind, tempting us to give up, to give in, to choose the dead over the living. I won't let it win. Not again. Not ever. For Miguel, for myself, for all of us who have loved and lost and somehow found the strength to keep going. This is my promise now, my real promise, the one that saves instead of destroys. I am Maria Elena Vasquez, and I am the last mother the creature will ever claim. My name is Margaret O'Brien, but everyone calls me Peg. I'm 36 years old, and I cook at a logging camp up in Michigan. The year is 1956, and this winter is the coldest I can remember. I wasn't always a cook for lumberjacks. I once dreamed of having my own family. My husband Tom and I wanted lots of kids. We were going to have our first baby boy. We picked the name Patrick, but I lost him before he was born. Then the war took Tom away too, and I was all alone. Every night after, I clean up, I write a letter to Patrick. I tell him about my day and about all the men I feed. I call the lumberjacks my boys. In my heart, they've become the family I never had. I tell Patrick which of his big brothers is feeling sad for home, or who got a cut or bruise that day. Writing these letters helps me feel better when I'm sad. This job is all I have now. These men need me. They come in cold and hungry, and I can warm them up and fill their bellies. Without them to take care of, I don't think I'd want to get out of bed in the morning. I have a small box under my bed. Inside are tiny baby clothes I made for Patrick. Sometimes when I'm cooking and no one's looking, I hold a little hat or sock while I stir the soup. It makes me feel like I'm cooking for my baby too. At every meal, I put out a plate for Patrick and one for Tom. The lumberjacks don't ask about it anymore. They just eat around the empty chairs while I talk like my family is there. "The bread is so fresh today, Tom," I might say. Or, "Patrick, honey, I made the pie extra sweet just for you." The men give me odd looks sometimes, but they're good boys. They need a mom just like I need someone to care for. I've never told anyone this secret. When I lost Patrick, I was working in a factory making bullets for the war. I wanted to help Tom fight from far away. I worked too hard, standing all day and lifting heavy things. The doctor said that's probably why my baby didn't make it. I picked helping the war over keeping my baby safe, and I still feel awful about it. But I think God kept me alive for a reason. These lumberjacks, many don't have moms nearby, or they're too far from home to feel loved. I was saved to be a mom to men who need one. I can't leave my boys no matter what. Sometimes I skip eating so they can have more food. A good mom makes sure her children eat before she does. When food gets low in the middle of winter, I'd rather go hungry than see one of my boys miss a meal. Taking care of them fills a hole in my heart. My kitchen isn't just a place to cook. It's where I care for these men with all the love I have left. When I see an empty plate, I feel like I've failed my child. I just can't stand that feeling. There's something weird about these woods, though. The older workers tell stories about bad winters when men went missing. They whisper about something that lives in the forest, something that feeds on hungry, desperate people. I don't believe in monsters, but sometimes at night in the empty kitchen, I swear I hear a baby crying. It sounds like Patrick saying, "Feed me, Mama." I know it's just in my head. It has to be. But as the winter gets colder and our food gets lower, I worry about how I'll keep my boys fed. A mom always finds a way. The logging camp wakes up before the sun. I'm always the first one up, lighting the stoves at 4:30 in the morning. The kitchen is the warmest place in camp, and I like it that way. My boys need a warm place to come to. This morning I'm making flapjacks, bacon, and coffee. The smell fills the whole building. I talk to Patrick's photo while I work. "Look at all these hungry brothers you have, Patrick," I say, flipping pancakes. "They work so hard in the cold. Mama has to make sure they're well fed." I can almost hear him. Answer me sometimes. It's silly, I know, but it helps. When the men come in for breakfast, they stomp snow from their boots and rub their hands together. Their cheeks are red from the cold, and you can see their breath in the air, even inside. "Morning, Peg," says Joe Murphy, our foreman. He's a big man with a beard turning gray. "Smells like heaven in here." "You boys sit down and get warm," I tell them. "Coffee's hot and food's coming right up." I love watching them eat. They shovel food into their mouths like they haven't eaten in days, though I feed them well 3 times a day. Young Tim Bradley, only 19, always has room for more. His mama died when he was little, so I make sure to give him extra. "Tim, honey, you're looking too skinny," I say, sliding 3 more pancakes onto his plate. "You need to keep your strength up in this cold." He blushes. "Thanks, Peg." Before they head out to work, I pack them each a lunch. I wrap the sandwiches in wax paper and tuck in a cookie or 2. I write their names on each package like a mum sending her kids to school. "Frank, I put extra meat in yours," I tell Frank Kowalski, who's built like a bear. "And Pete, I made yours without onions. I remember you don't like them." Pete Hansen smiles. "You remember everything, don't you, Peg?" "A mother always remembers what her children need," I say. When they're gone, the kitchen feels too quiet. I start preparing dinner right away. Beef stew today with fresh bread. The meat is getting low, but I've saved enough to make the stew thick and hearty. I need to talk to Joe about getting more supplies soon. The snow's been heavy, and the supply truck is 2 weeks late. As I chop vegetables, I set a place at the table for Tom and Patrick. I smooth the tablecloth where they would sit. "Patrick, sweetie, you'd be 8 years old now," I tell the empty chair. "Big enough to help Mama in the kitchen." The light outside the window is already fading when I hear a noise, a soft thump like someone dropped something in one of the empty rooms. But I'm alone in the building. "Hello," I call out. No answer. The wind picks up outside, making the windows rattle. I go back to my cooking, but I can't shake the feeling that someone's watching me. At dinner time, the men come back, tired and even hungrier than before. Dan Morrison has a cut on his hand, so I clean it and wrap it in a clean bandage. "You're an angel, Peg," he says. "Just a mother looking after her boys," I tell him. After they're settled with their stew and bread, I sit at the head of the table. Joe says grace, and I notice how the men bow their heads respectfully. Some of them haven't said a prayer since they left home. "Pass your plates if you want seconds," I say. "There's plenty." But there isn't. Not really. I've watered down my portion of the stew so there would be more for them. A mother makes sacrifices. After dinner, some of the men stay at the table. Tim asks me to help write a letter to his girl back home. Joe shows me pictures of his kids. Frank tells a funny story about his first job, and everyone laughs. It feels like family, like the family I should have had. But as they talk, I notice how thin they're all getting. The food isn't enough, not for men working so hard in the cold. Joe's been cutting back their hours because they don't have the energy for full days. The supply truck will come soon, I tell them, trying to sound sure. The weather will break, and we'll have plenty again. Late that night, after everyone's gone to bed, I sit alone in the kitchen. The fire in the stove is dying down, and shadows crawl across the walls. I take out my letter paper to write to Patrick. "Dear Patrick," I write, "your brothers are getting so thin, Mama is worried about them. I don't know how much longer our food will last." That's when I hear it again, a soft crying sound, like a hungry baby. It seems to come from everywhere and nowhere. "Patrick," I whisper. The crying stops, but as I look toward the dark hallway, I see something move in the shadows, just for a second. Something small, like a child. I close my eyes tight and count to 10. When I open them, there's nothing there. But the air feels colder, and I can't shake the feeling that something has found us, something hungry. A week passes, and the supply truck still hasn't come. The snow piles higher, blocking the road to town. The food in our pantry gets lower every day. I'm making breakfast, oatmeal, watered down to make it stretch. There's no more bacon, no more eggs, just oats and the last of our sugar. My stomach growls, but I ignore it. I didn't eat dinner last night so the men could have a little more. Joe comes in early, his face serious. "Peg, we need to talk." I keep stirring the pot. "Is something wrong?" "Tim didn't come back to the bunkhouse last night." My hand freezes on the spoon. "What do you mean? Where is he?" "We don't know. He went to check the traps we set for rabbits. Said he'd be back before dark." Joe takes off his hat and twists it in his hands. "We looked for him till midnight. No sign." A cold feeling spreads through my chest. "He must have gotten lost. You need to send the men out to find him." "We will, but Peg." Joe looks at me hard. "This storm is bad. If he's out there all night..." I know what he means. No one survives a night in these woods in this kind of cold. But Tim is only 19. Just a boy. My boy. "He'll be okay," I say firmly. "Tim is smart. Now eat your breakfast. You'll need your strength to find him." The men eat quietly. Nobody says what we're all thinking. I put a bowl at Tim's empty place, just in case he walks through the door. After breakfast, Joe takes most of the men to search. I wait in the kitchen, keeping food warm, jumping at every sound. By noon, there's still no sign of Tim. By dinner time, the men come back with empty hands and sad eyes. "We'll try again tomorrow," Joe says, but I can tell he doesn't believe Tim is still alive. I don't sleep that night. I sit by the stove, keeping it hot, just in case Tim finds his way back cold and hungry. Around midnight, I hear it again, that soft crying sound. It's clearer. Now, and it's coming from outside. I wrap a blanket around my shoulders and go to the window. The moon is bright on the snow. At first, I see nothing. Then, at the edge of the trees, something moves. A small figure, like a child, standing in the snow. My heart jumps. "Patrick," I whisper, my breath fogging the glass. The figure doesn't move. It just stands there, looking toward the kitchen. I should be scared, but instead, I feel a pull, like when my milk came in after Patrick was born, a physical tug of need. I put on my coat and boots. I know I shouldn't go out there, but something is calling me. Something needs me. The cold hits me like a slap when I open the door. The snow crunches under my feet as I walk toward the tree line. The small figure is still there, watching me. "Hello," I call softly. "Do you need help?" As I get closer, the figure turns and walks into the trees. I follow, though a voice in my head tells me to go back. The moonlight makes blue shadows on the snow. My breath makes little clouds in the air. I follow small footprints through the trees. They look like a child's tracks. The forest is quiet except for the sound of my breathing. Then I see it. A dark shape on the ground ahead, too big to be a child. I move closer and my heart stops. It's Tim. His body is half buried in snow, but I can tell it's him by his red scarf, the one I knitted for him last month. I run to him and fall to my knees. "Tim, Tim, wake up!" I touch his face. It's ice cold, but what makes me scream is what I see next. Tim's body has been torn open, like something was eating him. There are bite marks on his arms, his chest, and some of the meat is gone. I stumble back, my hand over my mouth. An animal must have found him, a wolf or a bear. But deep down, I know the bites don't look like animal marks. They look human. I run back to camp, slipping and falling in the snow. I bang on Joe's door, sobbing. "I found Tim," is all I can say. The men bring Tim's body back to camp. We lay him in the tool, sheed because the ground is too frozen to bury him. No one says much about the bite marks. No one wants to think about what they mean. But that night, as I'm cleaning up after a silent dinner, I find something that makes my blood freeze. In the big stew pot, hidden under the leftover venison stew, are chunks of meat I don't recognize, meat that didn't come from our pantry. I pick up a piece. It doesn't look like deer or rabbit. It looks like... I drop it like it's burning me. No, it couldn't be. My boys wouldn't do that. They couldn't. But as I dump the stew out behind the kitchen, I can't stop the terrible thought. What if hunger made them do the unthinkable? And worse, what if I fed it to them without knowing? That night, I dream of Patrick. He's standing by my bed, thin and pale, his tummy swollen with hunger. "Feed me, Mama," he says. "I'm so hungry." "I don't have anything to give you," I tell him. "Yes, you do," he says. "There's plenty of food walking around." I wake up with a scream stuck in my throat. The room is dark and cold. But for a second, I swear I can still see him standing there, my little boy with hungry eyes. And I can smell something strange in the air, like iron and baby formula, all mixed together. Something is in our camp now. Something that's making Ud's all hungry in a way that normal food can't fix. 3 days after we find Tim, the food runs out completely. There's nothing left but a handful of flour and some coffee. The men grow quieter, their eyes hollow with hunger. I've been giving them my share for days, and my clothes hang loose on my body. Joe calls a meeting in the dining room. "We have 2 choices," he says. "We can try to walk out to town, or we can wait and hope the road clears soon." It's 20 miles to town, Frank says. "In this snow with no food, we'd never make it." "We could try hunting again," Pete suggests. "We've tried," Joe says. "There's nothing out there, not even rabbits." The men argue back and forth. I stand in the kitchen doorway, watching their hungry faces. They look like children, scared, desperate children. My children. "I'll find a way to feed you," I promise. A mother always finds a way. They look at me with such hope that it breaks my heart. How can I keep that promise? That night, Joe stays late in the kitchen, helping me clean up our pitiful dinner of weak broth. "Peg," he says quietly, "you need to eat something too. You're wasting away." "I'm fine," I tell him. "Mothers are used to going without." Joe looks at me for a long time. Then he reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small bundle wrapped in cloth. "I was saving this," he says. "It's the last of the jerky from my pack. Take it." I try to refuse, but he presses it into my hand. His fingers are warm against mine. "We need you strong," he says. "You're holding us together." After he leaves, I sit alone at the table. I unwrap the jerky and stare at it. My mouth waters, but I can't bring myself to eat it. Instead, I wrap it back up and tuck it into my apron pocket. Maybe tomorrow, one of the men will need it more. I'm about to blow out the lamp when I hear a noise from the tool shed where we put Tim's body. A scraping sound, like something heavy being moved. My heart beats faster. It's probably just the wind, but I find myself walking to the window, looking out toward the shed. The door is open. It was closed before, I'm sure of it. I should wake Joe. I should call for help. Instead, I put on my coat and grab the lamp. Something pulls me forward, out into the night. The snow has stopped, and the air is deadly still. My lamp makes a small circle of light as I walk toward the shed. The door swings gently in the breeze. "Hello?" I call softly. "Is someone there?" No answer. I push the door wider and lift my lamp. Tim's body is gone. The blanket we covered him with lies on the floor, but the wooden table where we laid him is empty. There are marks in the dust, like something was dragged away. I back out of the shed, my breath coming fast. I swing the lamp around, looking for tracks in the snow. There, leading away from the shed toward the trees, are drag marks and footprints. More than one person. I follow the trail to the edge of the clearing. It continues into the dark woods. I can't go further without getting lost. As I turn back toward the camp, something catches my eye. A scrap of red fabric hanging from a branch. Tim's scarf. I reach for it with trembling fingers. It's torn and stained with something dark. I don't want to think about what the stain might be. I hurry back to the kitchen, my mind racing. Who would take Tim's body? And why? A terrible thought forms in my mind, but I push it away. My boys wouldn't do that. They couldn't. I don't tell anyone what I saw. What would I say? But I watch the men carefully at breakfast the next morning. They seem different. Some look better, less hungry. Joe has color in his cheeks again. He smiles at me. "The coffee's good this morning, Peg." I notice something on his wedding ring as he lifts his cup. A dark stain in the grooves of the gold band, like the stain on Tim's scarf. My stomach turns. I excuse myself and run outside, gulping the cold air. It can't be true. It just can't. But when I go back to the kitchen to start lunch, though there's almost nothing to cook, I find something in the big pot. Meat, fresh meat, cut into neat chunks. "Joe," I call, my voice shaking. "Where did this come from?" "Frank and Pete got lucky," he says, not meeting my eyes. "Caught a deer. In the, middle of winter, when there's been no sign of deer for weeks?" Joe just shrugs and walks away. I stand alone in the kitchen, staring at the meat. I should throw it out. I should refuse to cook it. But the men are so hungry. My boys need to eat. My hands move, without me telling them to. I start making stew, adding the mysterious meat to the pot with the last of our flour to thicken the broth. As I stir, I find something hard in the pot. I fish it out. It's a button, a brass button from a work shirt, just like the ones on Tim's shirt. The room spins around me. I grab the edge of the stove to steady myself. This can't be happening. This can't be real. But as I keep stirring, a voice in my head whispers, "Feed them, Mama. Your boys are hungry." It sounds like Patrick. When the men come in for lunch, I serve them the stew. I watch as they eat eagerly, sopping up the gravy. With the last stale bread, they look better already, stronger. I don't eat, I can't. That night Joe doesn't come back to the bunkhouse. The men search for him at dawn, but there's no sign, just like with Tim, until I find his wedding ring in the morning's breakfast sausage. I stare at the gold band, sitting on my palm. I know what's happening to us. And worst of all, I know I can't stop it, because my boys are hungry and a mother always feeds her children, even if it's killing her inside. I don't tell the others about Joe's ring. What would I say? That we've been eating our friends? That hunger has turned us into monsters? Instead, I hide the ring in my pocket and keep cooking. There are only 5 of us left now. Me, Frank, Pete, Dan, and young Bill Thompson, who barely speaks anymore. The food I serve them isn't normal food. We all know it, but nobody says it out loud. The meat comes in at night. Sometimes I hear them dragging something heavy through the snow. I pretend to be asleep. I don't want to see. In the morning, there's fresh meat in the kitchen. I cook it like I would cook beef or pork. I season it, make it tender, I tell myself I'm helping them. If they're going to do this terrible thing, at least I can make it better. It's good. Stew, Peg, Frank says as they eat dinner. Best you've ever made. I nod and smile, though inside I'm screaming. Thank you, dear. Eat up now. You need your strength. That night I set the table as usual. A place for me, places for the men, and places for Tom and Patrick. But tonight I add something new. A place for Tim, and one for Joe. You boys join us for dinner, I say to the empty chairs. There's plenty for everyone. The men give each other worried looks, but they don't say anything. They just eat. After dinner, I write my letter to Patrick. Dear Patrick, I write. Your brothers are so hungry. Mama is feeding them the only food we have left. Is that wrong? A mother must feed her children, mustn't she? As I write, I feel something wet on my chest. I look down. 2 dark spots are spreading on my blouse, right where my breasts are. I touch one spot. It's wet. It's milk. My milk has come in, though I have no baby to feed. I should be horrified. But instead, I feel a strange calm. My body knows what my boys need. A mother's body always knows. The next morning, as I'm making breakfast, I hear Patrick's voice again. Clearer than ever. Feed me, Mama, he says. I'm hungry too. I turn around, and for a moment, I see him. A little boy, standing by the table. He's thin, so thin. His skin is pale, and his eyes are hollow with hunger. Patrick, I whisper. He holds out his hands to me. I'm so hungry, Mama. You feed everyone but me. That's not true, I say. I set a place for you at every meal. But you never give me anything to eat. His voice is sad. Don't you love me, Mama? Of course I love you, I cry. I'd do anything for you. Then feed me, he says, like you feed the others. I blink, and he's gone. But the feeling stays with me, the desperate need to feed my child. As I serve breakfast to the men, I look at them differently. They're not just my boys anymore. They're food for my real son, for Patrick. Eat up, I tell them, filling their plates high. You need to be strong. Strong and plump for Patrick. That afternoon, Pete and Frank go out to check the road. Maybe the snow has melted enough for us to leave, they say. I watch them walk into the trees, and a strange thought comes to me. One of them won't be coming back. I'm right. Only Pete returns, hours later, shivering and wild-eyed. Frank fell, he says, down a ravine. I couldn't reach him. But there's blood on Pete's coat, and his eyes won't meet mine. I just nod and take his wet clothes. I'll make you some hot soup, I say. That night, there's fresh meat in the kitchen again. I don't ask where it came from. I just cook it, make it tender and tasty. As I work, I talk to Patrick, though I can't see him. This is for you, I say, stirring the pot. Mama's making you a special dinner. I set the table with care. A place for each man, a place for Tom, a place for Tim, a place for Joe, and a special place for Patrick. I put flowers from my dried bouquet at his spot. When dinner is ready, I serve the men first, then put a small portion at each empty place. The biggest, best piece goes on Patrick's plate. Eat up, my sweet boy. I say to the empty chair, Mama made it just for you. Dan clears his throat. Peg, are you feeling okay? I'm fine, dear, I say, just making sure everyone gets fed. Dan and Pete exchange looks. Everyone? Pete asks carefully. Of course, I say, gesturing to the table. Tom and Tim and Joe, and especially my Patrick, they're all so hungry. Dan stands up slowly. Peg, there's nobody there. Tom and Tim and Joe are gone. And Patrick was never here. I stare at him. How dare he say such a thing? Don't be silly. Of course they're here. They're always here. They need me to feed them. Peg, Pete says gently, I think you need to rest. You haven't been sleeping. Sit down and eat, I snap, suddenly angry. All of you, eat what I've cooked for you. They sit back down. startled by my tone. They eat in silence, watching me nervously as I talk to the empty chairs. Is it good, Patrick? Mama made it special for you. There's more if you're still hungry. After dinner, Pete and Dan talk in low voices by the door. I pretend not to hear them, but I catch words like not right and getting worse and have to do something. They're planning to take me away from my kitchen, away from my boys, away from Patrick. I can't let that happen. That night, I wait until everyone is asleep. Then I take the big butcher knife from the kitchen. It's sharp. I keep all my knives sharp. A good cook always does. I stand over Pete's bed, watching him breathe. He's the strongest. He'll have the most meat on him. This is for Patrick, I whisper as I raise the knife. A mother always feeds her children. The knife comes down. There's blood. So much blood. Pete's eyes fly open, but he can't scream because my hand is over his mouth. Shh, I say. It'll be over soon. You're going to help feed my boy. Isn't that nice? When it's done, I drag his body to the kitchen. It's heavy, but I'm stronger. Then I look. A mother finds strength when her child is hungry. I work through the night, cutting the meat into pieces, wrapping some to save for later. The best cuts go into the pot for tomorrow's stew. Patrick's stew. As dawn breaks, I hear his voice again. Thank you, Mama, he says, but I'm still hungry. I look up from my bloody hands and see him standing in the doorway. He looks a little better, not quite so thin, but his eyes are still hungry. Don't worry, my sweet boy, I tell him. There's more food walking around. Mama will feed you until you're all better. And I will, because that's what mothers do. They feed their children no matter what it costs. Dan finds Pete's body in the morning, or what's left of it. I didn't bother hiding what I'd done. Why would I? A mother shouldn't have to hide feeding her child. Dan backs away from me, his face white with horror. My God, Peg, what have you done? I'm taking care of my boy, I say, stirring the morning stew. He's been so hungry for so long. What boy? Dan shouts. There is no boy, Peg. There's no Patrick. He died before he was born, remember? I slam the spoon down. Don't you say that. He's right here. He needs me. I point to the corner of the kitchen where Patrick stands watching us. He looks more solid today, more real. His skin isn't as pale and his cheeks have a little color. The food is helping him grow strong. But Dan doesn't even look where I'm pointing. There's nobody there, Peg. You're sick. This place has made you sick. You just can't see him, I say. But he's there. He's always been there. Dan backs toward the door. I'm leaving right now. I'd rather take my chances in the snow than stay here with you. You can't leave, I say, picking up my knife. Patrick is still hungry. Dan runs. I don't chase him. He won't get far in the deep snow, and he hasn't eaten in days. He'll be weak, easy to find when the time comes. It's just young Bill and me now. Quiet Bill, who hardly speaks. He sits at the table, staring at nothing. Hungry, dear? I ask him, ladling stew into a bowl. He nods without looking at me. He eats mechanically, spooning the food into his mouth, without seeming to taste it. Good boy, I say, patting his shoulder. Eat up, grow strong. For Patrick, all day I cook and clean. I talk to Patrick, who follows me around the kitchen. He's growing before my eyes, filling out, becoming the boy he was meant to be, my perfect son. Are you still hungry, sweetie? I ask him. He nods, his eyes never leaving mine. Always hungry, Mama. Don't worry, Mama will find more food for you. That night, I tuck Bill into bed like a child. He lets me, his eyes vacant. I think he's given up. This place has taken something from him, some essential spark. Sleep tight, I tell him. Tomorrow will be better. I wait an hour, then go back with my knife. It's easier this time. Bill doesn't even fight. It's like he's been waiting for this, knowing it would happen. Thank you, I whisper as the light leaves his eyes. You're helping my boy grow strong. I work through the night again, preparing the meat. Some for breakfast, some for lunch, some for dinner. Days' worth of meals for my growing boy. As dawn breaks, I hear a noise outside. Footsteps in the snow. Heavy breathing. Dan has returned. I open the door. He stands there, covered in snow, half frozen. He couldn't make it to town, just as I knew he wouldn't. "Come in," I say. "Get warm." He's too cold to resist. He stumbles in and collapses by the stove. I wrap a blanket around him and give him hot coffee. "Why did you come back?" I ask. "No choice," he says through chattering teeth. "Too far. Too cold." I nod. "You're safe now. I'll take care of you." He looks up at me, fear in his eyes. "Peg, please, this isn't you. Something's happened to you. To all of us." "Nothing's happened," I say soothingly. "I'm just being a good mother." Dan starts to cry. It's strange to see a grown man cry. "I want to go home," he says. "I just want to go home." "You are home," I tell him. "This is home now." I give him breakfast, oatmeal, not meat. I need him to regain his strength first. Good meat needs to be healthy. Patrick watches from the corner, his eyes hungry. He looks almost like a normal boy now, except for his eyes. They're too old, too knowing. "Soon," I tell him when Dan isn't looking. "Just a little longer." But as the day goes on, I notice something strange. Patrick is following Dan around, watching him, licking his lips. That night I hear noises from Dan's room, whimpering, crying, begging. I open the door. Patrick is there bending over Dan's bed, but he doesn't look like my little boy anymore. He's changing, growing, his limbs too long, his fingers ending in points. "Patrick," I whisper. He turns to look at me, and his face isn't a child's face anymore. It's something ancient and hungry, wearing the skin of a child like an ill-fitting mask. "Feed me, Mama," it says in Patrick's voice. But there's another voice underneath, older and colder. Dan is still alive, pinned to the bed by Patrick's. Long, sharp fingers, blood runs from cuts all over his body. Patrick, or the thing pretending to be Patrick, is feeding on him slowly. "Stop," I say weakly. "That's not how I taught you to eat." Patrick smiles, and his teeth are wrong. Too many, too sharp. "But this is how I like to eat, Mama," he says. "I like my food alive. Don't you want me to be happy?" I back away. For the first time, I'm afraid of my own child. "You're not Patrick," I say. "My Patrick wouldn't do this." The thing laughs. "But I am Patrick, Mama. I'm what he would have become if he'd lived. I'm your son, your shame, your guilt. I'm the hunger you've been feeding all along." Dan moans in pain. He's still alive, still, conscious. The thing is making sure he feels everything. "Let him go," I say. "But I'm hungry," the thing whines in Patrick's voice. "You always said you'd do anything for me. Was that a lie?" I shake my head. "No, I'll feed you, but not like this." I go to the kitchen and come back with a bowl of stew, Bill's meat carefully prepared. "Eat this instead." The thing considers, then releases Dan. It takes the bowl and gulps down the meat, growing more solid with each bite. "You've been such a good mama," it says when it's finished, "feeding me so well, but I'm still hungry. I'll always be hungry." It reaches for Dan again, but I step between them. "No," I say firmly. "If you're still hungry, take me instead." The thing tilts its head, curious. "You would offer yourself?" "Yes," I say. "A mother always sacrifices for her child." The thing smiles, and for a moment I see my Patrick again, the boy he might have been. "Such love," it says. "Such perfect, terrible love." It moves toward me, arms outstretched, like a child wanting to be held. I open my arms to it. "My sweet boy," I say. Its arms wrap around me, but they're not a child's arms anymore. They're long and strong and cold. Its fingers dig into my back, drawing blood. "Does it hurt, Mama?" it asks. "No, baby," I lie. "Mama's fine." I feel its teeth on my neck, sharp and hungry. But I don't fight. This is what mothers do. We give everything for our children. As it feeds, I finally understand. This thing was never Patrick. Patrick died before he was born. This creature found the empty place in my heart and crawled inside, wearing my guilt and shame like a disguise. I've been feeding my own hunger all along, my desperate need to be needed, to be a mother at any cost. As darkness closes in, I see Dan crawling toward the door. At least he might survive. At least one of my boys might live. Run, I whisper to him. Don't look back. The creature that is not my son drinks deeply. With each swallow it becomes less like Patrick and more like its true self, tall and gaunt, with skin like bark and antlers sprouting from its head. A Wendigo, the hunger that can never be satisfied. As my life drains away, I feel a strange peace. At least I'm feeding someone. At least I'm still a mother giving life with my death. I love you, I tell it, though I know now it's not my son. It pauses in its feeding. I know, it says, almost gently. That's why you were perfect. The last thing I feel is its cold hand on my cheek, almost tender, like a child saying goodnight. The last thing I hear is its voice, no longer pretending to be Patrick. Sleep now, mother. Your hunger is finally over. Spring comes late to Michigan's Upper Peninsula. The snow melts slowly, revealing what winter has hidden. The supply truck finally makes it through in early April. The driver, Jake Miller, has been trying for months, but the roads were too bad. He brings food, mail, and news from town. Nobody has heard from the logging camp since January. As Jake pulls up to the camp, he knows something is wrong. There's no smoke from the chimney, no men working in the yard, just silence. Hello? He calls, climbing down from his truck. Anybody here? Nobody answers. The camp looks empty, but the doors are unlocked. Jake checks the bunkhouse first. The beds are made, but there's a layer of dust on everything. Nobody has slept here for weeks. Next, he tries the foreman's cabin. Empty too, but something catches his eye. Dark stains on the floor, stains that look like dried blood. Jake's heart beats faster. He should leave, go back to town and bring the sheriff. But he needs to check one more place, the kitchen. The kitchen door creaks as he pushes it open. Inside, he finds a sight that makes him stop in his tracks. The long dining table is set for a feast. There are plates at every seat, with silverware and cups. Some of the places have names written on cards. Tom, Patrick, Tim, Joe, Frank, Pete, Bill, Dan. The plates are empty, but they've been arranged with care, as if waiting for guests who never arrived. At the head of the table is a woman's chair. A faded apron hangs on the back. Next to the plate is a stack of letters, tied with a ribbon. They're all addressed to someone named Patrick. Jake picks up one letter and reads it. Then another, and another. They tell a story of a mother's love, a mother's madness, and a mother's final sacrifice. As he reads, Jake notices something else strange. Despite the dust everywhere else, the kitchen is spotless, as if someone has been cleaning it regularly. The stove is cold now, but there's a pot on it ready for cooking. Jake backs away from the table, the letters clutched in his hand. He'll take them to the sheriff. They need to search the woods, find out what happened to all these people. As he turns to leave, he hears something, a soft sound like a child crying. "Hello?" he calls. "Is someone here?" The crying stops. Jake looks around the empty kitchen, heart pounding. He's imagining things. He has to be. He hurries out to his truck, the letters tucked inside his jacket. As he drives away, he doesn't notice the small figure watching from the kitchen window. A little boy with hungry eyes. Back in town, the search party finds nothing. No bodies. In the camp or the surrounding woods, it's as if everyone simply vanished. The sheriff reads Peg's letters and declares that she must have gone mad from isolation and grief. Maybe she poisoned the men, or maybe they all tried to walk out and got lost in the snow. Without bodies, they'll never know for sure. The camp is closed down. Nobody wants to work there after what happened or what might have happened. The buildings are left to rot in the woods. But in town, strange things begin to happen. Women wake in the night, thinking they hear a child crying. Young mothers find themselves dreaming of a little boy with hungry eyes, begging to be fed. Mary Wilson, who just had a baby last month, tells her friend she keeps seeing a small boy standing by her son's crib. "He looks so sad," she says. "So hungry." Sarah Johnson, pregnant with her first child, starts setting an extra place at dinner. When her husband asks why, she says, "For the little boy. He needs his dinner too." And in the woods, where the old camp stands empty, something waits. Something that was once a woman named Peg, who loved too much and too wrongly. Something that learned how powerful a mother's love can be, and how easily it can be twisted. It waits and watches for women with that same desperate need to nurture, to be needed. Women who would do anything for a child. It will come to them as a crying baby, a hungry child. It will find the empty places in their hearts and fill them with its hunger. Because a mother always feeds her children, no matter what. 3 months later. Emma Carter rocks her newborn daughter by the window. The baby is finally asleep after crying all day. Emma is exhausted. Her nipples raw from nursing, her mind foggy from lack of sleep. "I don't know if I can do this," she whispers to herself. "I'm not cut out to be a mother." As if in answer, she hears a soft cry from outside. Not her baby, something else. She looks out the window. A small boy stands in her yard, looking up at her window. He's thin, with pale skin and sad eyes. He lifts his hand in a small wave. Emma doesn't recognize him from the neighborhood. He looks about 8 years old, too young to be out alone at dusk. Without thinking, she goes downstairs and opens the front door. "Are you okay?" she calls. "Are you lost?" The boy doesn't answer. He just looks at her with those sad, hungry eyes. "Are you hungry?" Emma asks. "Do you want something to eat?" The boy nods slowly. "Come in then," Emma says, opening the door wider. "I'll make you something." As the boy steps toward her, Emma feels a strange sensation, like milk letting down in her breasts. A pull of need so strong it's almost painful. This child needs her. This child is hungry. "I'll take care of you," she promises. "A mother always finds a way." The boy smiles, and for just a moment, his teeth look wrong. Too many, too sharp. But then he's just a normal child again, taking her hand as she leads him into the house, into the kitchen, where a mother always feeds her children, no matter what.